What's up, everybody? It's another Blackout Friday. It's Talkin Brash episode. I don't even know what episode we're on. I think we're on episode 12. Today, I released something on for my Patreon subscribers. I did a cover song of a band called 11. That's up on Patreon. Just a quick snippet on that is the reason I chose that song is back in the 90s when I was growing up, I was a sophomore in high school in 1993, all right? And we had a station called Q104.3 before they became like a classic rock station. They were an awesome rock and metal station. They would play deep cuts from Anthrax, Typo Negative, all the Sepultura. They would play shit other radio stations wouldn't, aside from WSOU, which was Seton Hall. They're probably the most famous metal station on in the U.S. But anyway, in '93, Q104 was playing a lot of alternative and metal, and this band would come on that I thought for a long time was Faith No More. Like, they would play the song, never say the band name, because I think the first year of 104, they didn't even have fucking DJs. They just let the music play. They played, like, songs of, like, 5 blocks, go to commercial, and then come back with another 5 songs. So yeah, I wouldn't know the name of that band, and I thought it was Faith No More for a long time. And finally, I saw a music video for it, and discovered 11. And that guy, Alain Johannes, he's a Chilean-born dude. He turns out that he also was a part of a bunch of albums that I fucking love. Chris Cornell albums. He did Queens of the Stone Age. He did Them Crooked Vultures, go on and on. That guy's been involved. He was in the Sound City Players with Dave Grohl. He does a lot of shit with Dave Grohl. So I found that stuff out after the fact, but I've always loved this song, and it never got play. It never became like this big hit, but it always stuck with me. And now that I've had some time to cover some songs and do some side projects, I wanted to cover that song because it's one of my favorites, and it's something that came up with me when I was a sophomore in fucking high school. So enjoy that. If you want to go to my Patreon, it's up there. Just look up Loki Guitar Official or go to LokiGuitarOfficial.com. All the links are there. Today, we have my good friend, the Wolfer. Wolfer's been around, goddamn, before I was around, in at least in our group of friends in our scene. Before I met Jason Trioxin, Wolfer had already been friends with JV and those guys. They grew up together. So let us invite Wolfer into our little portal here. All right, dog, you're on the screen, dude. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm all right.
So it's funny you bring up Q104.3 around that time. So I saw you posted that today, and I've never heard that song in my life, I don't think. I'll go check it out. But that was the first time I ever heard Danzig. Was they were playing Mother like before MTV was playing Mother.
Right, dude. That station was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Right, like that was probably the last vestige of like when a corporate radio station would be like, yeah, dude, you're the DJ. Pick your, you know what I mean? Pick what you want to play.
Yeah. For the first little while, they didn't even allow their DJs to talk. Like, for that first little while they were on, the DJs would play music, but they weren't on-air personalities. They would just play blocks of like 5 or 6 songs, go to commercial, and come right back with another 5 or 6 songs without speaking. Yeah,
and then after that, it was like, you had the internet came around, so like people knew what DJs looked like.
Right.
Yeah,
you forget sometimes that this is pre-internet. 93, 94, 95, 96. Like, 96 is kind of when the internet went commercial with AOL and all that stuff. Like, that's right around then. That's the infancy of people having internet in their homes. And even that was fucking dial-up. You could, you could do very limited things with the internet back then. So, fucking the radio stations were a big deal, dude.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. I was downloading Nirvana WAV files where you had to download like 15 WAV files. Now, if you remember when you were a kid, when you have 2400 BPS modem, to download a photo would take 45 minutes. So now you got to download like at the time it was like a 12 megabyte, or like a 1.7 megabyte file, which may as well be a 10 terabyte file now, right? We're whatever's after terabyte.
You could probably do a terabyte faster these days.
Right, exactly. Like the commercial grade, home like cable company internet in your house. And so, but at the time, yeah, I mean, if you were into music, I think at that early time, like Prodigy was around, and then AOL came around. If you were into music at that time, you absolutely like would have been, checking that stuff out. So what happened was with the DJs, they would be like, all right, look, Lou, right? Barbara, we've got, this really good looking guy or this really good looking girl. And hey, we're going to tell them to come on in and play Stone Temple Pilots. And it feels like that's kind of when it all went away.
We got some people joining the talk. Austin, Curtis, Jay, Mikey Gaston's in there. Carrie, Mary Heveron's here. She's saying hello. Richard Dicko, what's up, dude? It's Friday. I hope you're ready to do some shots. Mikey Wasted's in the chat, and he said one time he took a shot with you in a hotel room, and then you then proceeded to tell him that there's no way he'd sleep in the same room as you would never sleep in the same room as Mikey Wasted is what you told him. But I mean, I guess that sounds accurate.
I have assets. I have a child, right? I don't know you that well, and you don't seem to have great judgment. So, you can't sleep here. Like, no offense. All my friends say you're a great guy, but like, I've got shit to worry about now. You can't sleep here.
I would never categorize Mikey Wasted as a great guy, but I love him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I was being nice, right? I was trying to hurt his feelings. Right. So, yeah. So that did happen, Mikey. Next time, we'll probably do the same thing.
Right, yeah. No, you still got to go, though.
Yeah.
Because now we know who you are.
I think that was the only shot of the night I took that whole weekend. So, and I took it with you, Mikey. So thank you.
So that was what? That was at Trioxin, was it Trioxin Fest, Trioxin Tribute? What the fuck was it called?
I know all of the musicians who've been involved in this scene for, cumulatively probably 500 years, and no one has a better title. So I don't know. Trioxin Tribute is the name of the Facebook page. So that's what we have.
Got you. All right. Before we get to what's happening now, let's talk about what happened back then. I had Brian on Wednesday, and he kind of took me through his beginnings from his perspective of how he met Ralph and Jason. He's talking about going to bike rides, going down to fucking Lou's Music Man. And, what a shady son of a bitch that guy was, right? We were too young to know how shady, but in retrospect, super shady.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you'd go in there and they would have a whole lot of imports.
A lot of imports.
Right. Then you'd read about an FBI raid,
right?
On premise, and next time you went in there, they had a lot of calendars,
right?
No actual imports. Like, oh, cool, the 1996 Metallica calendar, awesome.
Used to get so many live bootlegs on VHS of just all the bands you wanted to see, man. Machine Head, Life of Agony, fucking Typo Negative. He had all the bootleg fucking live videos, man.
All of them. And so you'll appreciate this story. I don't think I've ever told it because it always gave me douche chills at the time, and now I just don't care. So the first time like I said, back in the day, I had the internet pretty early. So if you did, there was and you were a Nirvana fan and into that stuff, you'd be like, there was Outcesticide was like, right? And it's like this legend, like I've never heard these songs. They're nowhere else. So I literally called Lou 4 times in a day. The first time I called to ask him if he had it. The second time I called and I asked him to verify the track list. The third time I called, I asked him if he would hold it for me. And so you can imagine this guy, let's just say he's not a cheerful fella. But
no, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
But yet he had these little kids hanging around him all the fucking time. Because I didn't even know you guys, but I was doing the same things you were doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I remember us having that conversation where it's like, Lou too?
Right.
So I ended up getting all of our dream jobs at 15, at 18. I was working there every single day for $5 an hour. But I got to work in, probably the coolest music store in Bergen County. So, and well, Carlos decided to steal a Typo Negative CD one night, and he only had one in the store. So when it wasn't there the next day,
They knew. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first or last time I stole a CD. You know?
Hold on. He kept my CD book for that.
Really?
Seriously, no joke. Like 400 CDs. But just around that time, iPods came out, and I was like, oh, cool. Fuck this. I don't need CD.
Yeah, I don't have to fucking flip through these pages to find the right CD.
Yeah, exactly. Like an animal? What? Like what? You know, okay, I'll give up a little bit of audio quality in my Audio Delta 88.
You know, some people had like just like it was like the single. Hold on, I'll put the camera on so you can see what I'm doing. They had like the single book where it was just one thing of like a lot of CDs. You just flip through the one thing. But I had like the 4. It was like a big fucking industrial size, and it was like 4 CDs per page. So I'd be like flip. Yeah, so I was like even more of an animal, just flipping through pages of 4 CDs a page.
I had 2 of those books, right, in my car, which you drove for a long period of time. I had 2 of those full books plus another one.
Without a license, by the way. But anyway.
Dude, I don't know if my mom's watching.
Dude, I was fucking a teenager,
bro. Yeah, Music Man. So, yeah, Music Man. Me and Brian would ride to Music Man all the time. It kind of felt like that was like a central hub for, you know, everyone who was like, we weren't really that cool, but if you were into the things we were, you knew about Music Man, right? Like, yeah, we would ride our bikes there sometimes. I know the first time Brian met Ralph was way before, like, we were probably, I was 12, which means he was 11.
That's
and
ridiculous.
His older sister, I don't know, was hanging out with Ralph.
Right.
You know, and then they had met at Music Man one day. They went to Music Man one day. And then, so we would always go there. And then, you know, Jason and I would end up going there all the time. And it's interesting because, you know, that last year at the tribute, it asked Johnny Ott to do "You and Me" by you know, Glenn Danzig and the Power Fury Orchestra from
song.
Less Than Zero soundtrack.
Yep.
Right,
It's
and
probably that song, aside from Johnny doing it, that like highlights and showcases Danzig's voice like to the best degree. Like that is his best vocal performance on any record of anything.
Yeah. I mean, if you got black chicks backing up Danzig, like. Like he brings it. I mean, he is a really good and he's a great songwriter, right? And like people don't give him credit, like all the shit that he wrote for other people or for other projects, he's really good, right? And it's not you know. So anyway, so I asked Johnny Ott to sing that, and it's cool because, you know, Jason and I used to remember when he was so angry at me because one day we were both in Music Man looking through the used tape section, and I found I ran down, I see Less Than Zero, and I just snatched it right over his shoulder, right? So yeah, right over his shoulder, but fuck him, right? So half fuming on the way, like on the way back. Now he has to drive me home, where I'm going to go listen to the tape that we've had collectively been looking for 6 months now, right? Obviously, I was going to make him a copy,
right?
But you never wanted the fucking copy, and so you know, just talking about Music Man, I don't think that's an interesting story that people would be interested in. Jason was like very irritated about that, like for way long. Again, not angry. Knowing it, but I could.
It's just one of those things. It just scratches at him.
Yeah, just fucking rubbed him wrong.
That place has like a mythical, legendary status in my mind. You know, just because it was like the only place to get really good shirts. Lou had legit street cred stuff in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know, he had I couldn't freshman year, my mom took me to Music Man for back to school clothes. Right? I was like, yeah, I'm getting the Living Dead shirt. I'm getting the Horror Business shirt. Right? Like I had, my uniform. Yeah, no, that place is awesome, and it was cool to work there. Ran into Erie Vaughn in that place. Michael used to go in there all the way back in the day, right? And Lou grew up with Jerry and Doyle, right? So he was in that early, and Glenn in that early circle. So it was weird how everybody then just gravitated towards it.
So this is also like in the beginning of the internet.
Who worked there with the Kiss shirt every single time?
Yeah.
Every time that guy was working, I'd be like, oh, fuck. Go ahead.
In the beginning of the internet, our version of, talking shit back and forth to each other was these message boards. And is that how you met Jason? Is that right?
Yeah. So I met Jason through Misfit Central. Misfit Central was kind of I don't even remember what they're called, but when you would basically, it was like like an email. You would send an email to this email server, and then this thing would aggregate all of the emails that got the previous day, and then it would email it out like as a newsletter the next day. I don't know. I just did it manually. And so if you're a Misfits fan around that time, you knew about that website. And I kept seeing this guy post, and it was J-Sin. I forgot it, but I could probably find it. And he said Leonia, New Jersey. So I can literally remember going like, where's Leonia, right? Because when you're a kid,
yeah,
you're in your town, right? And you hang out with people in your town, and sometimes you have an uncle that lives somewhere else. But like in Northern Bergen County, like in Washington Township, I never fucking heard of Leonia.
Yeah.
Right?
I know Westwood, maybe Emerson, and then like everything else is like
Right. And I had lived in Ridgefield, and the only thing I heard of out that way was North Bergen and Palisades Park, right? Like, so it didn't get all the way to Leonia. So perhaps my parents were Leonia, and then somehow or another, I don't recall what the post was, but like it was just like, hey man, you're pretty close. Like, yeah, I'm pretty close too. Blah blah blah. And so we're chatting, and I said, I'm looking to start playing bass. He's like, cool. You want to buy one? He's like, I'm selling my Epiphone. And I'm like, okay, cool. How much? $175, right? So I'm like, awesome. You got my birthday coming up. I'm going to have some birthday money, and, I'm going to buy a bass. So one day, him and Ralph show up at my house and, sell me the bass. It was kind of like, all right, whatever, cool. Like, they were 17, I was 13 or 12 or whatever. And then, yeah. So from there, we kind of built a bit of, they gave me the Angelson tape
right
that day.
What was on this? Was this like a bunch of the Misfit songs plus Queen of Halloween and shit like that, or what?
No. This was Halloween Town.
Threshold of Lust, shit like that.
Threshold of Lust. That other fucking dreadful one. the fucker down to the right, like
yeah. They had some stock generic like guy.
They were definitely Ralph songs, right? They were definitely those were the Ralph and Paul songs, and so
that guy's still alive, Paul Miller.
I believe he is.
Good on you, Paul Miller, because back then I didn't think you'd make it fucking this far.
Yeah.
That guy fell off a balcony in New Orleans, and we thought he was dead then.
I do recall that story, yeah. But, seems to be... Last time I saw a picture of him somewhere, and he looked very much like Robert Smith, which in hindsight, if he had done his hair differently, you realize he looks just like fucking Robert Smith. If he lost some weight, which he did, and he's Robert Smith. So
it's either Peter Steele one way or Robert Smith the other. That's not a bad gig.
It's not. No. It's not. If you can get it, man. If that's your thing. So that would be so yeah. So Paul, and then so that was like shortly after my birthday. Then my our buddy Pani has a birthday party, and somehow Ralph and Jay's band is going to play at this thing. And then so they come and they play. They play this like backyard gig in Washington Township, and that was like their second show. And then from there on out, Jason and I just built a friendship like really quickly because we were kind of we were whatever what we were just both into the same shit, same headspace. He drove, so that was fucking awesome, right? Like, so and we quickly
the white Mustang days.
Yeah, dude. So, and I told Jason's mom this story, and she'll appreciate it, right? And you'll appreciate this because you know my mom. One day, Jason comes, rolls up right in front of my house with the white Mustang. So, Jason painted the hatchback thing black and orange, right? So then Jason gets out. Again, I'm 13 or 14, and he's got fucking tattoos. And my mom's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? Like, this is literally, she doesn't know shit from. So he comes in the house. I'm like, what's up, man? Fuck, I have to take a shower. And so he's like, all right. So, and when he was walking up the driveway, she goes, what the fuck is this, Sean? Right? So, and then I go in the shower and, it was pretty quick. And I come out and my mom and Jason are laughing. And I could tell she genuinely, liked him. She was like, oh, okay.
Jason was a charmer.
Right. Jason was a fucking charmer.
He was a charmer. Yeah, with the ladies, didn't matter the age. He was a charmer. He charmed them quick.
Yeah. Just like, which is good because, again, and as a parent now, you look and you're like, it was a little young, right? So, and, you're like just a couple of years ago, we had a Joe Montana jersey, right? Like, and so yeah, it was, and so that was cool. So yeah, we built a really close friendship around that time. And, yeah, I mean, from that point forward, he was not in high school the whole time because, again, he was 3 grades older. Right. But throughout my high school years, Jason was absolutely my best friend.
Fucking A. So was Angelson playing live or because I mean, a lot of their lore was all word of mouth. They recorded these demos, but really didn't play many shows live. Like they played 1 or 2 with Paul. Remember Justin Moore, that guy? They played one with him or something. But most of their popularity was word of mouth and just talking themselves up and really not even playing shows and they were saying they played sold out shows, but they hadn't played any shows.
Yeah, that's right. Like those 2 at that time together. And, look, subsequent things happen and certain people like to say certain things about, certain one of the 2. And they'd be probably pretty fucking accurate. They would be. But nonetheless, credit where it's due. Yeah. At that time, those 2 guys were, a really good team. They were very complimentary. They were both really fucking good drummers, right? Like, if you listen to some of that older Angelson stuff, even, with the ear that you have now, you can appreciate that it was kind of way ahead of that age level, like from, some of the musicianship. Or do you disagree?
No, I thought Ralph was super talented, especially for his age when I first met him. We didn't have a drummer per se, right? So he would hop on the drum kit and just fucking play all the songs, and he would play them awesome. I'm like, wait, you're not the drummer? You're the singer? I don't understand what's happening here. And then Jason would come on and like one of the, very early on of me jamming with them, he learned that I fucking love Guns N' Roses and I could play a lot of it, and so we would jam Rocket Queen and just other Guns N' Roses songs, and he would go up on the drums and just start jamming Rocket Queen with me. I'm like, wait, you're a drummer too, but you're not the drummer either? Like, we don't have a drummer. Can't one of you play drums? Nope. I had to make it more difficult.
Yeah, they did, but they're both really good drummers, and all the like. Even if you go back and listen to Weak, right? If you go back and listen to that song Weak from there, Jason's bass line is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The drums are fucking awesome, like way advanced, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a great. I don't think it's a great song, right? Like I don't think it's a. But I mean, just way like a couple levels up, like and only a level or two away, right? Was where they were at a very, very, very young age, in my opinion.
Yep.
Before you were around.
Yeah, that was right. They recorded all that stuff right before I met them, and that's like the demo I got to learn to go jam with them the first time.
Yeah. And then you came in, right? And so Koch came in, I think, after you, right?
Right after me, like directly after me.
Yeah. So you and then Koch came in. Koch was a drummer. And then, and then it was, and Forte was there the whole time, right?
Yeah, Forte was there actually the whole fucking time.
Yeah. And Mike Forte was in the, he was in the show last year. He was the Angelson MVP, right?
He really was.
Yeah.
He endured everything.
And he was like your fucking ability player. Like something needed to be figured out, he would get it done. Like he was the MVP of that, very short kind of span, although actually not that short, band.
Right.
So yeah. So I mean, I watched that band evolve, and it was interesting because and look, you're gonna look back on it differently. I'm not looking back on it like with a nostalgia per se. Like I'm looking back at it, in my opinion.
Right.
That lineup with like you, Mike Pierce, and Jason playing bass when he came back, and honestly, the weakness in the band was the singer, and was, and less so at the time. That's one of those things where you look back in hindsight and you go like, ooh.
It's a shame because that kid was ultra talented, super talented.
Yeah.
But you know what they say in the Bronx Tale, right? About talent.
And so he was, he was the weakest link there. And, but you guys were doing some cool shit and you guys were really evolving. Those last two songs you guys had, like, I still have some of those in my head, right? Was that like, the lyrics were all stupid, but
right.
The song, so you guys were definitely on the path, but it all fell apart.
Yes.
And, and there was a reason for it. And, so, I hear like sometimes you talking to Joe and like, you should be proud of what that was for what it was. And I know you're not,
I'm not proud. I just, and we'll tell, whatever. I can't not avoid saying his name. Ralph.
Yeah.
At the end was a piece of shit. It is what it is. And, he said some horrible, terrible things. Aside from being the guy that he later became, before that, he said some really fucking awful, awful shit to me. And so it's not that I'm not proud of how that was, because I learned a lot. Like, and I got, through that, I got to jam with Mike Hideous, and I grew as a player there and was able to, forge my own way, not just through them, but like through myself after that too. So, yeah, I'm completely proud of it. It's just my relationship with that guy soured quick,
Yeah, look, man. I mean, the later in life stuff is, and hey, look, if people out there are watching, like, I'm not trying to be cryptic, but it's just literally like, don't need to put it out in the world, right? Yeah. Like, it's some of that stuff, fine, but that's a completely different thing. I think that last iteration of that band had the ability, particularly at the time, to break through. But you,
I think right at the time remember we played that, I think it was a WSOU show.
Yes.
And we were doing that show with Disney Fist.
Yeah, and Jay fucking Webb goes and loosens all of Disney Fist drums, right?
That's the only reason we lost. Because you fucking sabotaged the other band. Yo, you didn't need to sabotage the other band, man. Like, just
I know.
What are you doing?
I know. I hear you.
We were awesome. We were being so awesome. Because even if we lost, I could at least hang my head Yeah, at least we were awesome. Disney's Fist is damn good too, but
Yeah. If you would, I think if you guys would have won that show, but again, that was never going to work out.
right. But we were all degenerates back then anyway. That's just kind of how it fucking went.
It was never.
Me included. I'm not including myself. I'm completely a degenerate.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of this is third, fourth, however old you are, year-old guy looking back on an 18-year-old kid's
Right.
judgment. Like, yeah, that's never going to be a good look, right? There are other things where you're like, yeah, shouldn't have done that. Like, shouldn't have been in that ballpark. Shouldn't have been doing that there. No, that goes beyond bad judgment and stupid stuff. But like stupid stuff, right? Not like stuff, but like a lot of just dumb, stupid things. And so, yeah, I mean, and some of and I thought you and Joe kind of skipped that part of that period over. And to me, that was the best time. Remember, rented that rehearsal space in Rutherford?
Yeah, those sketchy fucking stairs.
Sketchy stairs. It was a bombed out warehouse.
It was a fire escape.
Right, and like, who knows if that lease was obviously that lease wasn't legal.
No way.
Like, probably just some dude scam. That was a completely abandoned, uninhabitable. No way they got a certificate of occupancy for that building.
Yet there's like 12 bands rehearsing on every level.
But
There's like 4 levels, and bands are on every floor. At least 3 bands each floor.
So, like, I've grown up a little bit now, so like I understand the liability of that. Like, somebody that had to be like a mob building or something.
Well, we did live in northern New Jersey.
Yeah. So you got so that was a fun time in the band, right? And it's funny, like, thinking back to those rehearsals, it's like it would all almost focus, Ralph and Jason and you to some degree, but you just didn't have the status yet.
I was also non-committal. Like, if you remember, I was in and out. Like,
yeah. But Jason's mood would always dictate the room.
right.
He could always get Ralph pissy, and he knew it. And going back to Mike Forte, like, just the inner workings of a kind of working band is like, okay, Jason walks in pissed about something, right? If Jason smelled weed when he walked in, he'd be. If Jason, like, whatever, right? If Ralph Rowe was light up a joint, Jason would get pissed, right? And then he would start playing pissed, and then you'd go, please, Mike, make a joke. Fucking Mike would make a joke,
Right.
and once Jason laughed, you knew the situation was going to be diffused, right? Like, you knew, all right, all fucking relax now. And that was, so he had that level of force, particularly if he's pissed.
Yeah. I think everyone in that band was super close outside of Ralph. Like, we all would hang out with each other. I mean, Forte and Ralph were always pretty close because, I mean, Forte lived right fucking there. His apartment was literally around the block from Ralph's house. But me and Jason would always go to parties elsewhere. We'd hang out either by you or Joe, and or we just do our own thing all the time. So it was a weird mixture at around that time, because Ralph really didn't Ralph just stayed home in his fucking basement all the time.
He did, and they were always out. They also, remember, they were always out at like the bank. This is when Ralph was playing for Empire Hideous, right? So we were way too young to do that shit at that time. I mean, that wasn't even like getting into Aldo's when you're 14.
Right.
We talked about Aldo's because it burned down. So
Did it burn down?
It burned down in a long time, in 2004 or 2005. And I remember that because the job I had at the time, the guy, before I opened my mouth, would look at the Bergen record. It was on the cover of the Bergen record. I go, oh shit. He goes, yeah, man, I used to go in there when I was like 14, 50-cent beers on Sunday nights. I'm like, did ya? I'm like, didn't we? Didn't they all?
50
right?
cent beers. Although they were like little fucking cups. They were like little plastic cups. They couldn't even get like glasses. They had like those plastic clear cups.
I don't know. I never drank beer. I never drank really.
I don't drink beer, but I would drink 50-cent beers at fucking Aldo's. I'll tell you that.
I think back then you drank beer.
Remember I was drinking Coronas or something.
Yeah.
Very Spanish of me.
Look, man.
My name is Carlos. It's fine.
Fine.
Now I won't fucking touch a beer, dude. I can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, see, I stopped drinking almost altogether. Like, I never drank that much. There was a time where I was drinking, like, having a scotch here and there.
Right.
I just don't like to drink because I look at it and I'm like, all right, if I start drinking,
Yeah, I don't like to drink either.
if
I'm actually drinking right now. I was drinking while I said it.
I know you are, I'm drinking a La Croix. So
Anyway, hold on. This is a good place to stop right here. It's fucking Blackout Friday. I'm holding up a shot. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys always come out and support. I appreciate you. There's a tip function on my website. It is Blackout Friday. It's the only day we do this. If you do $5, it's a mandatory shot for me. Sean will do his, I don't even know what that is, flavored seltzer?
Essenced seltzer.
Essenced seltzer. But yeah, if you do a tip, it's a mandatory shot for me. Blackout Friday. This is what makes the show tick. So in support, I get hammered and the show gets better. So yeah, thank you. Wolfer, cheers. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we're entertaining you.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's so, I think back that was a pretty good time for that band, but it never would have worked out. So
we'd be remiss, and I haven't brought this up with other people because they weren't as into it as we were, but part of what all brought us together too, like after we were finally all together, was wrestling, man. Me, Jason, and you, fucking, what was that WCW game called?
I believe it was, there were two. There was
Right.
Mayhem, and there was the second one that came out. I forgot the name of it, but that was fucking awesome, and I will never forget that.
NWO versus NWO versus WCW. Yeah, that game was awesome.
Well, that game was awesome, but then the WWE version came out with
Right.
I think it was
like No Mercy or some shit. Or
yeah, it was awesome because it was real guys, but with that engine.
right.
But that WCW game, we fucking played to death. I played that in Jason's.
We had wars, all out wars.
I mean, unfucking believable. And Jason would go, "Come on,
Come on, because and he would do it that come on.
yeah." And only because you would get him with that cheap ass knockout punch. Right? That was a cheap ass fucking.
Well, you know what pissed him off the most is that the WCW had like a fake wrestler in there called the THC, whatever the company name was. It was like THC Man or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
TKS or whatever. And like I used to fucking beat him with this fake guy, and he'd be like Scott Steiner. He'll be everyone, and I would just fucking beat him with this cruiserweight. Come on.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that was we'd get into arguments sometimes over that game.
Oh yeah.
Again, in the rehearsal space, we had the No Mercy, so we could all make ourselves. So we were, I mean, that was, I think, more fun in some ways.
Yeah, we'd all have OP'd characters. Like our regular moves would be jackhammers. Like.
That was a fun game. But back to just that band to kind of wrap that part up is like, those guys had kind of an artist's. They were again, and Ralph particularly like artists, but like still artist temperament, and. You always had kind of more of a technician's temperament and more of a craftsman's kind of, right? And
I would agree with that. I was a musician; they were artists.
Right, exactly, right. And by the way, though, it's not exclusive because Jason was also a craftsman, right? At at a certain point, and so was Ralph. I mean, when it came to playing drums, those guys technically were really good at that time. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, you're not like an artist.
Right. I'm still not an artist. I don't know how to do that part of it. That's why I have other people do that stuff. I still just play guitar.
Yeah. No, but you're awesome at it, and everything you write on is awesome and gets significantly better. I mean, some of the stuff I know you did with Michael. I mean, and even watching you live, it's like, geez, man. I mean, you make a lot of that stuff. You make I don't want to say sound relevant. That's not the word, but you make a lot of the you keep it interesting to me, right? And you never fuck up in any of it.
Because I'm trying to keep it interesting to me. You don't understand the game I play up there, because all right, you fucking play your instrument for 20-something years, and here I am every night playing punk rock songs. What can I do to entertain myself and keep this interesting for me before I just say fuck it and move on to do something else? You have to engage yourself no matter what it is, right? So
yeah.
I think because I was doing that to myself, that's probably why I came across that way to you.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was infectious through the band. Like, as I saw, and again, just from afar, I mean, I ran into you in Asbury Park that one day, right? But seeing it from afar, it's like, I watched some of those live videos when you first started, and then I saw some of them as you kept going, and the whole band was tighter, right? And I don't remember who was playing on which video, but I'm just saying, everything seemed tighter, and it seemed, it was clearly kind of attributable to, the way what you were doing.
Yeah,
it was cool. It was cool to see from afar.
So we'll wrap up Angelson a bit, because Jason at the end, he was in, then out, and then in, and then out. We had that kid, Tom. Remember Tommy Tech? He was fucking in there for a bit. When, in your opinion, did Jason say, "Yo, fuck this, I'm starting this other thing"? And when, in his head, do you think he took it more seriously than Angelson, or at least wanted to make that his priority?
I think, okay, so if I'm going to go back to Angelson played a show, I don't know, dude, like in Hackensack or something. I forgot the show. Joe will remember what it was and where it was. And there's still a live, I got the live version of that, which is cool.
Are you really?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but yeah. Dude, there we go. Yeah, so I heard hearing that, but they played a big show, and it was one of those local hype shows, right? And they played very, very well. And they played at the time it was called 245 Trioxin, and then after that they played a song called Queen of Halloween, which became part of prom night.
Right.
And Ralph and Jay got into it, and Jay broke off.
You know what I'm desperately trying to find, Sean, is the Angelson version of 245. There is a version does exist of Ralph singing it.
Yes.
I have the instrumental version of Angelson recording that.
Yeah.
I have that, but somehow him singing it came out of my grasp. I don't have it. I would love to have the version of him singing that song and Gorhor. That exists too.
That also exists. So I have live versions of that.
Yeah.
But Joe has to have them. See, I'm not.
Joe does not have Ralph singing this stuff. I have the same shit that Joe has, and we don't have Ralph singing, which is a shame because that's lost forever.
No, you have what Joe knows he has. Joe has my entire tape collection. There was a day where I said, I'm never going to use a fucking cassette player ever again. All of these things, who may want them?
Right.
Of course, Joe takes them. I 100% have that on a tape, and Joe still has. He sends me pictures of my old fucking tapes.
It's scary with tapes because heat, cold, it's been fucking 20 years, that shit will destroy tapes. So
yeah,
even if he does have it, man, that might be fucking. I went through my collection, dude. I have a lot of cassette tapes, and I was so upset because some tapes got destroyed. Remember TDK?
Yeah.
I would fucking throw those in there and like try to listen, and like they would just the tape would just snap, and I'm like, no.
Oh man. I mean, look, if a tape snaps, like you can get a professional to probably figure that out, but it's gonna cost you $400.
Right, I'm not fucking
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, Joe absolutely has that on tape somewhere. But so what happened after that is Jay and Ralph got into it. Jason split. That was, I think.
Let me pause you for a second, because like Mama Sin's like reciting lyrics to Gore Whore, and it's just hilarious. You know what I mean? Like she's like, she's my little Gore Whore, and I can't get past the image of her saying it.
He'd absolutely be saying, "Mom."
Come on, Mom. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Wait, by the way, can we just go with an aside? And I've had this conversation with Momsen, and remember how like Jason was very like bifurcated, right? Carlos, if you come to my house and a bunch of uncles and aunts are coming over, you're welcome to stay, right? Even if it's for 4 months, right? Jason would always be like, "Oh yeah, we're having company today," or like we'd all be hanging out, have a good time, and then he'd be like, "All right, it's 5 o'clock. I've got company coming over now."
Right.
We'd be like, "Oh, all right, so we gotta go." Yeah. Oh, all right, man. Later. So it's nice to like get to know Momsen a little bit, and get to know Lisa a little bit, right? Like it's cool. It's fun, getting to know them a little bit. Like so much more makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, so I think that was around the time the Empire Hideous played their last show. Remember they played that last show at the bank, and it was like huge, swinging from the rafters, like it was a big deal,
Right.
Mike crucified himself or something.
Yeah.
Like
that guy was a maniac, just shoving needles in his forehead.
Yeah. So right around that time, and so Jason started a band called Mr. Monster and the Creature Feature.
Right, the Creature Feature. Wow.
Mr. Monster and the Creature Feature.
I haven't heard that in a fucking minute.
And that was it was Angelson in the Creature Feature. Then he lopped off and the Creature Feature. So then first Jason was going to.
You're right.
Yeah. So because remember, it was Angel-Sin.
Yeah.
It's Ralph and Jason's band, and all you bitches are just playing. Right. And so that was kind of the
My
thought. My
mentality kind of changed that. I'm like, yo, that's not how it's going to go here.
Oh, no, but I mean, it shows why they had, the moderate bit of local success, where the good amount, very good amount of local success they did is because, it was, they could talk their shit up, man. Jason could talk shit up. He was good at that, and so was Ralph at the time. So he was going to start that, and then he lopped off that idea, and so it was Mr. Monster, and he started. He called up Mars and Jimmy from Empire. Well, Mars was bassist for the Empire Hideous.
Yeah, what was Jimmy doing? Because Jimmy wasn't in them, right?
Jimmy what?
Jimmy Skins was not in Empire Hideous, right?
No, right. I don't think so. I mean, no, definitely not. Yeah, he didn't those drums were not his style. Yeah. So Jimmy played, and it was a 3-piece band, and they played their first show. And Joe has a few different versions of the flyer. The different version, like Dead by Dawn made a version of the flyer. I think Angelson made their own flyer, and Mr. Monster made their own flyer. I think Joe has all 3 of them. And so that was mine and Joe's band. And then Jason played with Jimmy and Mars. And then Angelson played. That was in Teaneck, just a few blocks from where we played, where we did the show.
Is that the show that Tom played bass for Angelson?
I
remember Tom, right?
Yeah, I remember. I always hated Tom. I mean, I'm sure he's great now, but I always he's fucking Durango. And he same thing about me today. So fuck Tom. But yeah.
Poor Tom. No respect. He's like Rodney Dangerfield, that guy.
No, I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just saying I don't like him, and I know he doesn't like me. I'm not saying I'm better than him. I'm just saying we just two dogs smell each other and don't like.
They don't like. I don't like the way your ass smells.
Yeah, it's not personal, right? It's just So I hope everything's good and well with him. I really do. But so I don't remember who played. No, you had that kid, the kid who played on the
Greek kid, Staljanis. Yeah. Monster bass player
with dead ass strings, huh?
Right. Well, we didn't have money, bro.
No, he was 15. You couldn't buy him a new set of fucking strings.
I didn't have money either. I was working for your fucking mom at her factory.
No, that was after.
Right. Well, I mean, there was all that shit in between where I still didn't have money,
Yeah, no, that
I was a poor Tarican.
Yeah, well, again, Mike Forte was the MVP, man, right? And it's funny. I had this conversation with him. We were down in Atlantic City last year, and I'm like, "Yeah, man." And you had a job, and you're doing pretty well, right? And he's
I was working at Broderick's.
Yeah, he's like, I was delivering flowers, making $8 an hour, dude. He's like, I was just the only one who had a job. He's like, none of the other guys had jobs, so everybody thought I made a lot of money, but I made $8 an hour. So he was kind of the band MVP. So and that's how Mr. Monster did. That was the first show, and then they did a few others as a 3-piece, and then I was playing with Joe, and then Brian Kellner. We played that horrendous fucking show with the drum machine. That still gives me douche chills to this day.
That's the infamous show where I hid under the keyboard because I was playing keyboard for you guys.
I'm back there with you, right? So Brian forgot the words to the song we were going to cover, right? But dude, we had to fucking open for Bile, right?
Right.
We had to open for Bile. So, and Mr. Monster.
I hated my life that day. Really did.
Yeah, it was brutal. And the best part is I did hear Joe on here being like, yeah, that was Wolfer's man. Joe wrote literally. Again, for what it was, like looking back on it, you would not release a lot of that, but for what it was very good. And Joe did most of that, right? And so yeah, but I like that little fucking slight of Joe's. And also, Joe, when you guys were telling your AMP story, Joe forgets to mention that he and I were both working there to open that store. So we knew the guys in the produce department. There was the skinny Irish guy, right? The skinny Irish boxer, who'd always try to shadow box you. Right. And then there was the Italian guy, Dominic.
Dominic was, I think he's the first one to come up to me and use the term borrow.
Borrow.
Dominic was the first guy to say borrow to me. You guys borrowing again?
Oh.
Yeah, we're borrowing.
Yeah. I think I vaguely remember that. So anyway, at one point Jason was going to sing with our band. We couldn't find a drummer, and Jason, really wanted to go on with Mr. Monster, so we did. And Joe ended up playing with him, and I could be wrong, but I think with Mars and Jimmy or whatever. But then Joe joined the band, and then they were kind of off, right? And they were off. We were off doing the Mr. Monster thing, but at some point after that show in Halloween, that's when Jason came back into Angel Sin. Then it was about 2000. It was about, I think, July of 2000, and that summer is kind of when everything kind of got weird and different and changed. And that was literally like getting smashed in the face, right? Like I can literally create an end line to the end of that summertime for when I stopped being around, because it's when I went to college, if you remember. Right. And so that was an interesting time. But with Mr. Monster, it was It was fun to watch that grow, and then it was fun to watch you then join and start playing with Joe, and you guys played some shows. That was around the time you lived with me. You were also playing with my society.
You know, I think we played a lot more shows than Joe gives our lineup credit for it, because you know he pegs it as a couple, and sometimes he pegs that we didn't play certain songs, but yeah, no, we played a lot more than he gives it credit for.
Yeah, Joe has a really good weird memory for this stuff, and I mine's not as good as his, but I remember
exactly right. I'm exactly the same as you. Mine's definitely not as good as his, but he also does have this selective Joe memory.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So yeah, he is. So yeah, and then at that point, you guys played a bunch of shows. That's when you first started playing with Crypt Keeper, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
played. We did like trading shows. We would play in Trenton. They would come up here play with us.
Yeah, and which is funny because when I walked into Johnny Ott's house last year, I was like, "Holy shit! You still live in the same house?" Right? Like it was the same house from 20 years ago when we go down there to rehearse. Do you remember that?
I do. Wow.
So same house, looks exactly the same in the basement.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of how that kicked off and started.
Those guys were always great. I remember the Crypt Keeper 5, like at that time they were like more like the Crypt Keeper 9. They had like a full fucking blown band. They had a piano player and fucking, you know, winded instruments, fucking some guy playing sax. They were like the horror punk Meatloaf, but they were never really fucking horror punk, right? They were just like a rock and roll band, man. Like I'm sure they had their Pinky in there, like because their interests were the same as ours, but like they were more like they were just a fucking full blown rock and roll band.
They are the type of band that you could be like, oh hey, you know, I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. You know, like they're the next thing, because they are, right? They're Jersey guys. They're inspired by the E Street Band, and they have this big, you know, you're right, this big 9-piece, and this guy with this huge fucking voice, this huge guy with this huge voice. I mean, you know, pretty cool. And let me tell you something, those guys are number one. You know, I don't want to like those guys last year when we, and I guess we can tell a story in a bit, but when we booked that second show, I was like, hey guys, can you like change it up from one day to the next? They were like, yeah, let me think on it. And then Johnny called me back and he's like, yeah, no problem. One day we're going to do Crypt Keeper 5, you know, 2019. And one day we're going to do Crypt Keeper 5, 2000, you know, whatever, one.
Those guys have the ability to do that from day to day. They just, in fact, when I did a tour with them, when I was doing Argyle Goolsby, we did a couple of tours together. One in the States, one in Europe, and just night by night, they would look at like the set list and be like, "Nah, we're not doing that today." And they would just change it up out of nowhere. Where like the rest of us were like in the Goolsby band, we're like, "No, we have this set list. We're just getting good at it. We're gonna play these songs every fucking night." Those guys would be like, "Nah, scratch that off the list. We're gonna play this tonight. We're in this town. We're gonna play this song." You guys are awesome.
Those guys are awesome. Like those guys are studs. Great, all great human beings, right? Like sweethearts, and then, you know, ball busters, and just really good guys. All their old members are awesome. All their new members, like just, you know, can't say enough. Just like what wonderful fucking people.
Yeah. I got to have Johnny on here, actually. I would love to fucking have a conversation with him.
I got some questions for you, because that he's just an interesting dude to me.
And he's an interesting dude, but also just so genuine and nice and like calm and thoughtful. You know, like he's a guy I kind of aspire to be, not to react too suddenly, too emotionally. He's just a very fucking calm dude, man.
Yeah. He, you know, seems like it, and you know, everything I know about him, and yeah, just and gifted. You know, the amount of talent, and he puts all of that to good use. I mean, it's when you're it was cool last year doing the shows. Just I saw the Crypt Keeper 5. I used to go see them a lot when I was in college, because I went to college at Rider. Right. So, you anytime George,
Right. I totally remember this now.
anytime
Riders.
Serpentines would come down, and play, I would always go, and they'd always be playing with Crypt Keeper. So, I would always go see them around then. And so it was cool being able to see them and just be like, okay, this isn't like, just because when we booked that, and again, we don't need to go all the way into it, but when we booked that, even the venue was like, all right, what the fuck is this? Right. And they quickly, obviously, when the show sold out faster than Life of Agony, by the way,
Right.
people know that. Our buddy Jason sold out a venue that has a maximum capacity of 500 and change faster than Life of Agony. So, think about that.
We'll get there. I want to talk about that, but
But anyway, about just watching Crypt Keeper, it's like these guys are just a talented band. They're awesome. So when they play in Asbury, I'll go swing through and check them out. And then seeing some like Blitzkid, who, you guys were always fans of Blitzkid. I never just paid the time to get into it, right? I just didn't. And so, but watching those two guys play together, you're like, oh, all right, I get it. Now I see why people really like that. So it's fun, like seeing it from all the way back to now. And, we tell some more like personal Jason stories at some point. But yeah, that's it's cool to see some of these other how good some of these other guys are.
that time when I was in Mr. Monster, that was some of the most memorable times that I had, because remember we were playing like Hogs and Heifers, fucking CBGBs, the Continental. There was like other bars in the city. Some nights I remember taking a cab. I played a Mr. Monster show, hopped in a cab, and then played with Spy Society 99.
Yeah.
Fucking we played somewhere with Mr. Monster. I hopped in a cab and then played CBGBs that same night with fucking Mike Hideous. And like, there was a lot of that. We went up to Connecticut and played with Spy Society. I say we, but I was in both bands. But like fucking, there was a lot of fucking great times, and that also became like a big part of my learning process. And like, all right, here, how do we do this? How do I be a showman? Mike Hideous was actually, I fucking give a lot of credit to Mike Hideous for changing my attitude towards what I was doing, where I was a little more of a party animal before I met Mike Hideous.
Yeah.
And Mike Hideous taught me that I should be taking this fucking a little more seriously. And that you gotta fucking practice the way you want to perform when it counts. Taught me the fucking, time is the most valuable thing you have. So when you need to be somewhere on time, you need to do it. Fucking like, I learned a lot from the small amount of time that I played with Mike Hideous. He actually helped me turn a corner that I hadn't turned yet.
Yeah, I mean, Mike will do that to you. Mike's a serious dude. He really is. He's a serious guy. He takes his craft seriously, and he takes a lot. He's just a serious person, right? And if anybody's ever worked with him, he's cool. He's super professional, and he's tough on you, right? If you're not on your game. And I remember watching him in those Spy Society rehearsals, just like, riding guys for really minor mistakes. And it's probably not the best management style, right? But
you know what? Probably not, but it did work for me.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't mind that management style,
but
like, I can't manage people that way. Like, I know I can't do that. It took me a while to learn can't do that, but like, you and I have that same mentality. Which, so that's, so there you go.
Yeah, actually, I took that mentality and brought it with me everywhere I've been since then. It works for some people, not others. I'm like Bill Belichick of our bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't have to bring though. You gotta up that, but yeah, you are, and that's what I was getting back with the Graves thing. It's like I saw that evolve from like kind of a horror punky band with Michael Graves singing to like being a professional band, and it showed in some of the numbers I saw you guys were drawing.
Right, it was crazy.
Huh?
It was crazy. The amount of like growth that was happening, it was insane to me.
And you and I haven't really talked about this, but like, and I know you had a Facebook post, but like, I saw he's playing next month. Are you still doing that?
Say it again.
I saw he's playing next month or next week or something, or in a couple of weeks. Are you're done with that completely?
No, I'm done, man. Like, and it's less to do with what he says it's about, and it's more personal than he thinks. He thinks I I left the band because he's conservative or something, which I don't give a fuck about those things, man. Like, I have friends from every fucking walk
I,
of life, every aisle of anything. I have these friends. It's not about that. It's about, when you work for someone else, or a corporation or whatever. You know the house rules. You know where you can go, where you can't go. This is through everything that you do in life. You know the set rules. And if you want to continue doing that, as much as you don't like it, life's not fair, dog. If life was fair, my parents would be alive. I'd have a lot of I'd have some more success. Life's not fair though. So, as much as it's not fair to obey and live by these rules, we kind of have to, for the well-being and for the sake of everyone around us. And I just felt like that didn't matter to him because he acted alone in being as divisive as possible for a small amount of time. And I feel like he didn't think about anybody else but himself. And that really fucking frustrated me and angered me. And I can't be a part of that. That's what I can't be a part of. It's not his opinions, but anything else. I fucking love the guy. I defended him more than anyone else on this fucking planet. But I just didn't like the way it was going, how he was acting, and like, this is as much as I do. For every action, here's a fucking positive action that comes back at you, and this is that. This is what you're seeing.
yeah, it's I just kind of saw it from afar, and right, I just texted you like, "Hey man, you okay?" Right, and you're like, "Yep, cool." Right, like if you need me, call me. Right, and I was just like, enough said. It was just interesting. Yeah, it just seemed like it was. It seemed like he. I don't know. I don't think. I never thought, and I don't know him very well, but like I trust your judgment that like he's not a hateful guy and nothing, right? But the thing is like we're in an environment now. We're just in a certain type of environment. It's you want to call it welcome to the jungle, but like you're we're just in a certain kind of environment, and it's just when you're trying to articulate, and I understand I understand the argument on that side, but like when you're trying to articulate something that can potentially be very, very offensive, you have to be very, 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 very careful in the environment that we're currently in.
You have to be thoughtful, and that's really all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
I just wanted that dude to be, he's a very smart, thoughtful guy. So why are you posting this your demeanor and actions on social media are fucking awful and divisive and troll-like. Like, all you're doing is being a troll. And, dude, we're complex. Humans are complex. At all times, more than one thing is true. Right? So you can't just, like, take all the fucking shit that you get input from whatever sources that you get your news from and just regurgitate that as fact. You have to be a little more thoughtful. Like, all right, these people just feel a different way. And, like, these issues, these problems, everything is fucking complex. And to go at it in a way where you give no room for any other fucking opinion is something that we never stood for. And I'm surprised that he went that route. And then I'm surprised that he's mad at me for fucking... Yo, man, you laid down the gauntlet, dog. You fucking just threw our careers in the gutter. And you didn't care.
For no reason, right? Like, when I saw the one post that made me just go like, I get it. You're trying to go, screw you, right? And I can say what I want, but like a post when somebody's like, I will never apologize for creating Western civilization. It's like,
Right.
what? Like, what? You're just a dude from New Jersey, right? Like, I'm just
Right.
Jersey, and like, you know, Western civilization, any kind of civilization, it's like it takes a bunch of us, and it's just I don't think I don't think he meant for that to come out. I don't think he understood how divisive that statement is.
No, but he should have. I tend to disagree, and that post is actually the reason why I had to draw a line, because that post was carefully sculpted to be as divisive as possible. Listen, I know, Michael's not a racist. He's a fucking great dude, great dad, all around great fucking person. I love that guy. However, that post was carefully sculpted with the fucking picture of him doing this, which is he was telling the monitor guy, finally, you got the fucking monitors right. But along in the context that he said it, he knew the feelings it would invoke, because he's hashtagging the Proud Boys, who, whether they are or they aren't a white nationalist, fascist, sometimes, reality is not. They have a fucking stigma to them, and you have to know that when you're doing this and then saying chauvinist and then hashtagging masculinity. You're trying to provoke a reaction. And that's never what we were about. We were about uniting everyone instead of trying to provoke people fucking disagreeing with everyone and arguing. Like, we were always trying to bring a unity within our group. And that was the opposite of that, which I can't fucking do. I can't do.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, in some ways, yeah, and like when you're at a show and you like a band, particularly like, a band that not most people in the world have ever heard of,
right.
It's cool. It's an experience. You have a shared interest, right? And like, to me, in that environment, you should be there to share in a shared interest. And again, when you're just being so inarticulate, it just doesn't make sense. And then to me, I feel like if you had things you wanted to articulate, those weren't the things you should be articulating.
Right.
One, because that's a divisive statement, right? And it's like even like the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter thing, right? Like certain people are saying our lives matter, and we don't feel that it's recognized. The response should not just be a blanket, whatever.
Right.
What it's like, hey, okay, wait. Is this perception or is it reality, right? Like, let's all get together and figure that out. Okay, if it's reality, then what's happening? How can we fix it? The answer shouldn't be dismissive and all lives matter thing. Yeah. I feel like we're all at a certain place right now where it's like, and look, I've got a sharp ass tongue too, right? Like, I can go, but I try at least. Most of the time, if people are being willing to be constructive, but that to me is just, I don't see the upside there. What's the upside?
Well, you know what the thing is that, all right, you've known me since I was a kid, so you know that at certain times in my life, I've reacted with my first reaction, which is always my emotional reaction. I used to have a very fucking bad temper. I used to fly off the cuff super fucking quick. But you're supposed to evolve as you get older, right? Like, you can't react emotionally to everything. In fact, one of the best things you can do as a human is to master your emotions. All right? You take that first thought that's from your heart and just think about it for a while, Which is, it's kind of the same thing with Twitter fingers and everything. Like, yo, let yourself sit, just write it out and never send it. Delete it immediately. Let that shit fucking settle in your brain. Think about it. Because your emotions they don't always think of everything, all the layers that happen afterwards. And I think Michael's a victim of always reacting emotionally. I think maybe he felt defensive, and that's what came out of him when he's being defensive like that. And we can't spend all this time on him. People are asking us to move on and shit like that. But that is, to me, in my opinion, Like I know he's been talking some shit publicly, saying that I left for whatever reason, but I just told you the real reason why I'm fucking out of there.
What did he say you left for?
That I've become part of cancel culture and like yeah, I'm now fucking part of Antifa. You know what I mean? Like now I'm this leftist fucking. I've given up to the left. Dog, no, I left because you fucking took my livelihood and threw it in the trash and never asked me if I was okay about it. That's it.
Right.
That's as personal as it can get.
Yeah, and guys, that's as genuine a laugh as you're ever going to get from me for about a guy I've known for 20 years. That's not. It's interesting. It doesn't seem to make much sense. And anyway, I was just kind of disappointed that because I saw you. I mean, you could see with my eyeballs the numbers of people. I could see, the show go from 80 at the Stanhope House one night, and then the next time around be at 180, and then I see you in South America in front of 2,500, and Europe, and right, like your business was picking up, and that was your like what did you? Okay, aside from your playing and like great, a lot of guys can play really well, but like what roles did you have in that band that kind of helped it, or that act that helped it kind of take off the way it did? I'm gonna go freshen up my LaCroix while you're talking.
Right. Just my. I don't know, man. Just my personable skills of knowing everyone in the scene, and like, I think at that time we had some hate from Europe about conservative punk and shit like that, and I don't know, man. It was just I always thought outside the box of how we could do certain things, and it ended up working. It's just years of like road experience and knowing other fucking artists along the way that could and would help us. Like, it was just a grind. It was just a grind to make everything better each time. Like I fully commit to the idea that every time that you do something, it's got to be better than the last time you did it. So I was just committed to that idea, and that's kind of how that went.
Yeah, but okay, there are a lot of people committed to that idea, right? But from bringing business where it was to bringing business where it was going, and then being able to generate that not by any real new music that would back up those types of numbers, right? Like without not you don't have to go too far into detail, but like how did you get from one place to another? I understand you have that experience, but like
I think it was branding was important. I think
a lot of people watching that are in bands.
Right.
That you could probably save them 4 years of time right now with the next 3 minutes of your talking. So what would you tell them?
So
from there to there.
When I joined, things were very confusing. There was like acoustic Michael Graves, there was soft rock Michael Graves, there was fucking punk rock Michael Graves, and like you never knew what you were getting. So the first thing that I aimed at doing was that the branding of this has to be, people need to know what they're getting. Because he was losing a lot of people because they were expecting full-blown Misfits Michael Graves, and they were getting fucking acoustic Michael Graves.
Yeah.
So that was like the most important thing. Yep, people need to know what they're getting. It needs to be in the visualizations. It needs to be in the posters. It needs to be in the shirts. It needs to be so like you got to be clear about what you're bringing. But as far as bands trying to make it, it's just. You have to endure the grind. There was a lot of times, even with him, where you have to live through the shows of just 20 people, and you need to get the relationships with promoters and fucking and just everyone in the industry, and just grind through those really tough times, because it's gonna grow each and every time. And we just honestly, it was just being patient and fucking and grinding through it. I would love to say there's some magical way that I did it, but no, man, it's just like endurance and patience and hard work. That's how you do it. It's not a sexy answer, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, got it. I mean, yeah, that's pretty generic though. Like,
yeah.
Give somebody a real tip that's like useful. That's a bunch of bullshit you can read in a meme.
I don't know what there is. I'm honestly looking back and like just be open minded. Get as close as you can. Like when you play a place, fucking get the relationship with the person who's booking there. Get the relationship with the people that are important in that place. Don't just show up and think you're better than everyone. Like you need to be engaged every moment of every day. You don't know who you're talking to. So I think that was a big part of it. You got to be like fully engaged with everyone at all times, especially if you're trying to grow. And that was a big thing for us, dude, because like you said, you saw the growth. That's part of it. When I was on tour with Goolsby, you know, there was a lot of negativity towards Michael because of conservative punk days. Like we were banned from fucking Europe. We were getting death threats. You know what I mean? But like when I was there with Goolsby, people know that Goolsby A is a great dude. People now have met me, know that I'm a great dude. Like, all right, so what's going on here with this Graves character? Like he's can't be all that bad. So it's just about you got to build relationships at every fucking level, at every turn. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't have sexy answers. It's just about the grind.
No, I think that's the best one, and I find that in dealing with musicians, no offense, guys, but like you guys have the relationship skills of I don't even know what to compare it to. You guys, most of you really suck at that, and it's just to be able to have that skill set and to be like you may not realize it growing up. But if you just call somebody one day and they kind of like you and you're like, hey, can you do me a small favor? Most of the time they're going to do it for you. Right. If they can do it, they're going to do it. Right. And so it's about going through and building and maintaining those relationships, shooting a note to a promoter, shooting a note to this guy. Right. And just maintaining those, you will get the business, you'll get the shows, you'll get all that stuff. And I just see it's such a pervasive problem. And if you read about any band that ever did well, right, and kind of on their way up, it was more or less. Yeah. There was somebody in the band. There was a Johnny Ramone, right? There was a Jerry Only. There was somebody like that who handled business for the band. Obviously, you did that towards the end for Graves, and that's what kind of moved those numbers. But being able to build and maintain those relationships is a huge skill set that like you got to get better at, guys. Yeah, from what I've seen.
And like it's all encompassing because like today's musician, you're not just a musician anymore. You got to have a social media presence. You need a video presence. You got to know how to do your own demos. So you have to be an engineer. You got to be, it's the music industry has changed. Like you're not like I was saying to Brian yesterday. Like the days of getting $1 million budget to record an album, they're gone. Okay, so you need to wear so many different hats. It's a lot. This needs to be a passion, to endure it and make it a living. Like it needs to be a passion. Otherwise, you're not gonna fucking be able to do it.
Yeah.
And you need to be committed to it. Like it's not like, it's a hobby and I'll do this for a couple hours here. No, it needs to be like it 24/7. It's revolving around me all the time. Like I'm in a spot right now where I kind of don't move from this chair all day. I should probably get more exercise, right? Fucking, I'm either here doing this because I need to stay relevant with everyone that I love here, or I turn this off and I start recording music right in the same spot. Like it's a 24/7 job. You know what I mean? That's commitment. You can't. Not many people can do that.
Yeah, but so yes, that's absolutely true. But I also see a lot of people have kind of a wasted commitment, right? Like, a lot of people will have passion, but they won't know how to benefit from that passion, right? And so you have to commit yourself to knowing the other part that you're not good at, right? It's like, when, like I could book, when I was 15, I could book my own band any show that I wanted to book, right? And because I did that stuff. Now, I wasn't committed to being a great musician, so I stopped playing in bands. But most band members
for the horrible bass player.
Yeah, right. But some band members are, most band members don't know the other side of that. Like they couldn't book themselves shit if, and it's like, You have to do both, or you're not going to survive.
Or you need to find someone who's willing to do it. Like, listen, not everyone is as good as anything as the next person.
Every band needs a Johnny Ramone. Every band needs a Carlos Cofino, right? Like, I mean, you just do, and that's that's and it's about numbers and metrics, right? You're drawing 100, you got to draw 120 next time, right? Like, and you can track your success and track your success.
Right.
You've access to numbers.
You need to recognize where you're not good at things too. That's kind of a big deal. Like, I am not big on like appearance. Like, I could give a fuck about appearance, which is why me and Joe work so well, because he loves the way things look, and like to him, it's a big deal that things appear a certain way. So I could totally ignore that, but I knew I had Joe to do it, right? I mean, so if you have a weakness, you got to have someone involved with you that has a strength in that department. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you got to start doing some more sit-ups and get rid of that fucking weakness.
Right.
We were just talking about Marky Ramone the other night.
Right.
Should have got that. Right. I don't think that.
Fucking crunches. Someone's telling me they have chair exercises that I can do since I sit in this chair all fucking day.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, yeah. I mean, I work from home, so
something unrelated that I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Because no one's touched on it this whole time that I've been speaking with Joe, with Brian on. For some moments, you were booking wrestlers to go to Rockin' Willie's. What was that about? How did that start? What happened? Why were you that guy all of a sudden?
Yeah, right. So like I said, in September 2000, I started college, and to varying degrees of seriousness, but I kind of cut my, kind of focused on, I don't want to say college because it wasn't, but I focused on different things that I wanted to be focused on. And wrestling was really hot at the time, and we were wrestling fans. And I'm like, well, shit, I think, I bet there's no like store we can go to. So, I made a kiosk at the Garden State Plaza Mall, and, started a company with another dude, and we sold wrestling t-shirts and videos and stuff like that. So I got to kind of see the really sleazy world of like local wrestling promotion, and even like,
What was local to us?
Like, I don't know, I think Jersey Pro Wrestling.
I guess ECW might as well have been local at that point.
But yeah, they were
an hour and a half away.
Well, they were gone by then, right?
Were they?
More, yeah. I mean, more or less. Well, they were ending by then. They had lost their MSG show.
Gotcha.
They think they were like eating balls on TNN or TNT or whatever network that had like a Monday show or a whatever it was. So they had lost their national TV deal. But so ECW wasn't big, but it was the Attitude Era. So I'm like, cool, I could buy these t-shirts for $11. I could sell them for $22. A lot of people like wrestling. So then decided to start booking wrestlers to come to the kiosk to sign autographs and we could charge for those, and the wrestlers will make some money. So, it builds a little bit of a relationship with like that dude, Little Guido, right? From ECW. I don't know what he was.
Damn, that's right.
Right. So he would always come down because he lived right up in in Suffern or something. So he would always come down, and then, we booked the Iron Sheik, which, I'm glad I get to do this because, when I tell this story, it's like, no one believes that it's true, and they shouldn't believe this story. But now I have
that problem a lot, actually.
What?
I get that problem often.
Yeah, I have about 4 or 5 stories like that, where I'm just like, I'm not even going to tell them. But I'll tell the other one too. It ends up with me being like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. So we booked the Iron Sheik and booked Buff Bagwell, who I had called up a radio show to get him on to promote it.
Isn't he a gigolo now, Buff?
I have no idea. I almost left him at the fucking airport.
He's a gigolo, dog. He fucking sells himself to old ladies that can't get any.
Yeah. I almost please.
Buff the stuff.
I talked to his mom, Judy Bagwell.
Oh man.
Yeah, so she was his agent at the time, but I had him on well, I guess it was Ron and Fez. I had him booked to do. So he's got the call-in number, Buff Bagwell.
Right.
I've got the producer, who's the guy who produces. I don't know if you listen to it down there, but you listen to Boomer in the morning on FAN here.
What, a sizing?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, no, we get no New York shows here.
Okay, but there's the internet,
They don't give a fuck.
All right.
It's all Titans down here. They.
I understand, but in the age of the internet, you can listen to WFAN wherever you want, Carlos. China.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of things. Listening to the internet radio is not one of the things that I choose to spend my time.
Okay, well, you drove in a car for 7 hours a day for the last 10 years. So at some point over that
I think
period,
fucking Boomer sizing is something that would keep me awake while I'm driving to fucking from Texas to Montana.
I don't like Boomer sizing that much. I'm just saying, I assume every once in a while you throw the fucking fan on. I would.
Go ahead, keep going.
Book Buff Bagwell had him booked for radio time on like a well-rated New York show. They were going to interview him for 20 minutes. I'm listening to the show. The host is getting pissed, right? Because I could hear him getting pissed at the producer as they started talking about wrestling out of the blue, like cutting off another segment to do it. And yeah, I just get a pissed off phone call from the producer. Go fuck yourself. Don't ever call me again. I'm like, yeah, because Buff didn't call in. I was the guy who booked him. I don't blame the producer. Right? Again. So, so there was that. And then there was that morning that I drove the Iron Sheik to Joe's house.
Right. So the Iron Sheik lands. And Sean's like, yo, I just picked up the Iron Sheik. He's looking for weed. And like we sold, we were degenerates selling weed.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. Because remember, I hadn't been.
Well, actually, we might not have been selling weed, but we were like, since you told us the Sheik needed weed, damn well we were gonna get weed for the Sheik.
Well, no. Well, I'll tell the story, and this is so. So I pick up the Iron Sheik from the airport.
In fact, I actually was not home for this. I was sleeping at Kelly O'Brien's house.
Yes, you were.
And Joe calls me up. He's like, dude, Wolfer's bringing the Iron Sheik to the house. I fucking woke up ass early. I woke up and fucking drove to the house to fucking make sure I was there for the Iron Sheik.
Yes. So wait, land with the Iron Sheik. I take him to the hotel room that we set up for him. At some point, there's a knock on the door, and some nerdy looking white dude walks in. Okay, now it's my understanding that this is a well-known problem of the Iron Sheiks, which has been well publicized. So we're not breaking any news here. We know that he's had his issues. Some nerdy looking, goofy, from the Hamptons, white dude walks in, opens up a glasses case thing, and 10 bags of crack come out. Right. So now my heart's pounding, I was never into that shit.
All right. Yeah, that would just mortify me immediately.
Yeah. And so I'm like,
what did I do?
Yeah. I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, all right, I get out of the room. Right. I'm like, I'm going to go get a soda. So I'm just hanging out, standing there for 15 minutes by the soda machine. Just all right, this is getting weird now. But I spent all my money booking the Iron Sheik for this autograph session.
How much was he?
It was $950 plus airfare.
Okay. This is for just a regular signing. This is he doesn't have a book, right?
No, this is for if you want to get your picture taken with the Iron Sheik. So this was for basically I had him the whole weekend, and so first I walk back in the room. I guess he was done. The other dude's gone, and he's just batty eyed looking at me. And I'm like, all right, this is getting a little weird. I don't know what he did. I assumed he smoked the crack, but I didn't see it.
Right.
So he then gets in my car and he goes, Sean, Baba, I need some medicine. I'm like, because he had referred to his crack as medicine. And he goes, I need some other medicine, some green medicine. I'm like, dude, you're out of luck. I never smoked that. I don't know anybody who does. I'm like, oh yeah, I do. So, I'm like, all right, cool. Let me give Joe a call. Call Joe. He doesn't answer. Call Joe again. He doesn't answer. So I pull into his driveway as I always did. Right. I would always notoriously wake Joe up at really early hours. Like I'd start banging on his window. Right. And so I start banging on his window and he just yells, fuck you, go away. I'm like, dude, I got the Iron Cheek out here. He's like, shut the fuck up. He's like, go away. I'm sleeping. Then I go back in the car. I call him from the car and I'm like, Joe, just look out the window. Just look. I'm not going to stop calling until you look out the window. He looks out the window and he goes, holy shit. Right. And then all of a sudden he gets up, we get out, and then we go sit in the house. Then I'm like, I don't know, Sheik. I assume, these guys can get you some.
There's something wrong with the story because we must have known in advance a little while because we had set up a camera.
Yes, you did set up a camera. That's because we came back.
Okay.
I think I went to my mom. I took the Iron Sheik to my mom's house.
I could just imagine.
Oh, actually, you know what? My mom and the Sheik got along really well.
Oh man.
So that makes sense, doesn't it?
It's just like I just want to yell for a second. Like I could, what I imagine is just like your mom fucking like taking you. Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, what are you doing, bringing this guy over?
Yeah. No, they have the same disposition in life, just aggressive, cantankerous at times.
Right.
And that's where I get it from sometimes. But so yeah, they get along very well. But at some point, so we get there, and then Ed, we'll just call him Mr. Ed. We call up Ed. This is when you got the call. We call up Ed. And remember when Ed was going to like one of those learn how to fix car, like be a car mechanic school,
right.
Charge you $120,000, and if you miss more than 2 classes, you're out forever, and we still take the money. Remember when Ed was doing that?
Yep, I do. I also remember when he was selling frames to hospitals. But go ahead.
Yeah. So Ed, he had already missed his maximum number of days, which was 1 day. So Joe calls him up. He's like, "Listen, the Iron Sheik is at my house." And he needs weed right now. And Ed's like, dude, I got class. And he's like, all right, fuck school. And he just literally made a decision like, I'm out $120,000 so I could sell weed to the Iron Sheik.
Lisa Tucci saying she was with you for some of this stuff?
She was with me that weekend. That's the weekend. She was there. I
don't remember seeing her at the house, though. Lisa
Tucci was not there yet. No. So then we go to then that's when we came back. So Ed made the decision like, okay, everything I'm working in my life for, I'm stopping. Like all he needed to completely change course in life was the Iron Sheik needs weed right now. Right. So that's Ed.
We all kind of stopped what we were doing just to go to the house because the Iron Sheik was coming by.
Yeah, and there were no cell phone cameras back then.
Right.
It wasn't like, hey, here's a picture of the Iron Sheik, like laying in your bed.
but we tried to take a sneaky video though.
We
didn't try. We did take a sneaky video.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
We
took video of the whole thing.
No, I knew that you had by now, but I'm just saying at the time I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So then Iron Sheik came back. Enjoyed some medicine with, some of the fellas, I suppose.
He was asking for more medicine of a different variety.
Right. And I think he may have had that on him, even though I asked him not to get it in my vehicle.
How do you ask the Iron Sheik? Yo, dog.
Right. Guys, he's literally one of the greatest grapplers of all time. Right. Like, greatest grapplers of all time.
And strong as fuck. Even hobbled.
And he's way more hobbled now, but he was hobbled then. And he is strong like a bull. Like if any of you guys ever seen what he does with the Iranian clubs, it's a lot of technique too that you don't get from just like picking it up and trying to swing it, but it's unbelievable, like just horse strength, like bull strength.
Right.
So yeah, he was just a bull. So anyway, we went to, so all day we signed autographs at the Garden State Plaza Mall. At one point, he sold his boots with the spikes. Sold his 2 boots to a guy for $1,200
that he was wearing.
Yeah.
So what happened then?
So he got some cash, right? Well, then that night we went off
Did
to
he buy like a pair of Converse after that, or what? What happened?
I don't remember. I think he had slippers or something. So that night we went to the I forget what church it is, but basically the San Gennaro feast in Lodi, right? And
God,
we just got a table and he signed a bunch of autographs, and then Sunday we did something else, I think at the carnival again, and he made some money. And then so Sunday night, he's got whatever, $1,500, $2,000 in his pocket.
Right.
I made my money from the weekend, and Ed and Germs and Joe show up to the hotel room where I'm getting ready to say goodnight to the Iron Cheek.
Right. I actually went back home. I went back to Kelly's because I was driving around her mom's car. Like the mom needed the car, you know what I mean? So I had to leave.
So the Iron Cheek goes to me. He goes, Sean, I can you get me some beer? I'm like, it's Sunday in Bergen County, New Jersey. It's 10:30 at night. There's no beer. Nobody sells beer. He's like, well, what about New York City? City never sleeps. Okay, I'm not going there. He goes, all right, come on. He goes, I'll wrestle you on the ground. If I win, you got to go buy me beer. If you win, I'll give you, $1,200. I'm like, all right, bet. Okay. So
how'd you do this?
Again, three fucking witnesses. Hang on. So we pull, we completely move all the beds, move all the furniture in this hotel room in Rochelle Park. So it's me and Sheik in the middle, ready to go. And so we go down, and you and I used to wrestle in my basement all the time.
Yeah.
So we go down, and I catch up.
Back then, we used to do a lot of that shit. Remember, we used to practice suplexes.
Yes.
We used to the person would jump, I would fucking hold them, they would stick their legs out straight. We used to practice stand-up suplexes.
Yeah.
Like brain busters.
And the 3D.
Right. Oh, we used to practice the 3D, that's right.
But you and I used to actually really grapple till we tapped.
Right.
So a little bit till we tapped. So I get Sheik in a bulldog choke, right? But I don't know what a bulldog choke.
All right. As it was told to me, you could tell me if this is wrong. I think Joe told it to me this way. Iron Sheik got on his hands and knees.
Yep.
And said, if I'll give you 2 or whatever the amount of time was. I don't know the exact amount of time, but he's like, I'll let you try to tap me out in this amount of time. I won't move. I won't try to reverse it. I'll just sit here and try to let you tap me out.
So what it was he couldn't tap me out. Okay.
Gotcha.
So if he couldn't tap me or he couldn't pin me. Okay. So if he tapped me or pinned me in 5 minutes, right? So he went down, right? And so I took position, and somehow I caught him. I just caught him right by the neck. I had him like a bulldog choke, but I had no idea how to execute a bulldog choke at the time, right? So I'm literally just using arm strength.
Right.
I don't know.
You're just blowing out your arms right now.
Right. What?
You're just blowing out your arms at this moment, right? You're just like.
Yeah. Right. I thought you were admiring.
Right.
So I have him right, and I'm blowing out my arm, and he's like an animal, just just getting air coming out of his mouth, right, so he can breathe. And he's just breathing with neck muscles that are in here, believe it or not, because I feel them right now after just. Right. We don't use them a lot. And he's doing that, but he's turning blue, and I'm like, dude, I'm choking the Iron Sheik to sleep, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna put him away. And again, didn't know how to sink in a bulldog choke. So instead, I kind of went back and up, and at that point, he just pinned me. There were like 8 seconds left, and I tried to get greedy and finish him.
Right.
So I almost took the Iron Sheik. If I had just gone to 3 jiu-jitsu classes at that time.
And you did.
So that's the Iron Sheik story, and it's a real one, and it's pretty hysterical.
The rest of that story is that he then gave money to Germs
and
Joe to fucking get him drugs. And like those guys were like, yo, we're not going to the city. He's like, yo, go to 187th and fucking Broad. There's a fucking guy named Tony over there. He'll send you a crack. Just tell him the Sheik sent you. and Germs Joe and Ed were like, yo, we're not going to 187th Street. Like, that's just not happening. So we're going to drive around, get McDonald's, pretend we went to the city, and say we couldn't find the guy. That's what they did.
Yeah. That's pretty much so it started with a case of beer, and I guess so I Irish exit. I'm like, yeah, I'm just running out to the car. And I just leave. I leave Joe there, I leave Germs there, I leave Ed there. They got a car. They're fine. Cheeks getting his own ass to the airport tomorrow. I'm done with this lunatic, right? Right. And again, Troubled Man. There's a documentary about it. Suggest you watch it. It's pretty good. But I think somewhere in there, he's probably a decent enough guy. But yeah, so that's the Iron Sheik. That was the Iron Sheik. So that's what I was doing during a lot of that kind of early Mr. Monster.
Did you do more of that, or is that like was that like you experienced that and you're like, fuck this?
I didn't want to deal with that at that point. I mean, look, I always loved even to this day, I don't watch wrestling anymore, but I'll listen to people talk about it all day long, right? Like, but it was just wrestling cooled off a little bit after 9/11. And, kind of like, I guess everything else did. And at that point, it was just too many sleazy ass people, getting just everybody Virgil shows up one day. He just shows up. He's like, hey, can I sign some autographs?
What do you mean shows up?
Yeah. So I'm at the kiosk, and so I get a phone call from, hey, this is Virgil.
Like you're supposed to know who that is.
Yes, I'm supposed to know who this is. He's like, Virgil from WWF. Is this, getting the game? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm down the street at a really shitty autograph signing. He's like, I hear you got a spot down there. I'm like, I do. He's like, you mind if I come and sign some autographs? I'm like, okay, sure, right? And so he shows up. I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? What's the split here? I'm looking for him to throw out the first offer. And he's like, he goes, for every 15 pictures that sell, you get to keep one. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys walk by that day?
No,
okay.
I don't recall this. I very well may have, but I don't recall.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, no. So, I'm arguing with him over the split. I'm like, just leave. I'm like, just leave. Like, I'm not going to have you come here and just, do what you want. So yeah, after that, and he stayed and made a little bit of money and all, but just a lot of, unfortunately sleazy people. It's a sleazy business, and certainly not, the way that I wanted to make a living. Right. But, I tried it. I got to know some, different people, and, it's pretty cool.
When we were kids, I either thought you were going to be a gangster, like in the mob,
okay,
a wrestling promoter, or a politician. Those are the only 3 options you had in life, I thought.
and I did a little bit of 2 of those.
Right.
And so it's been fun. I always loved Vince McMahon. I think Vince McMahon's one of the greatest people alive. Right. I don't mean as a person. I just mean a
story with him too, right?
Yeah, that's so. I have a buddy of mine. His name is Lou, and Lou is
Lou Albano or fucking.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm very excited. My daughter is very into Cyndi Lauper.
Right.
Now because I'm raising a completely obsolete child in 20. But
good on you.
She loves that video, so I'm trying to pitch her on like, hey, for Halloween you can be Cyndi Lauper and I'll be the dad, right? Like, and I get to walk around in a guinea tee and with a Lou Albano wig and mustache on. That's like my.
Is she gonna watch the fucking Mario Brothers live action fucking sitcom next or what?
Watch that every single day, dude, in third grade. Yay. I can still sing the song. So yeah. So my buddy's like, hey, I'm going to be in Homedale. I'm going to see Kid Rock and Leonard Skinner. He's like, you want to go? I'm like, like this is probably 2010, 11. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's go. And so we go to buy tickets from people outside, and he's just like, he's like, I thought we were getting lawn seats. I'm like, stop. I'm like, we just get tickets for like $40. We're sitting right down there, and we're how many times in life are we going to be able to see Freebird played live by Leonard Skinner, even if the real guy's dead? Doesn't matter, right? So we go. So I talked him into a
bunch of the real guys are dead.
Yeah, I talked him into spending a few extra bucks on tickets, and so we do. So we're downstairs, and Skinner's playing, and who walks in behind us? Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, and some other dude, like behind us. Okay, during a Kid Rock show. Do you know how distracting it is when Vince McMahon walks in and is sitting behind you? You can't even just eyeball him the entire time.
You're trying to ball with the ball, and then you look over. Oh shit, Vince McMahon's there.
First of all, Vince, ball with the boss, dude. That guy is like his goofy character when he does like the goofy dancing.
Right.
That's how he really dances. The whole show, he was into it. Like him and Lindo were both into it, unbelievably. But what was cool was
it seemed to me to be an awkward human, right? He's very large, probably like trying to dance, and like it just seems to me like his upper body is way bigger than his lower body, and it's just awkward.
He's a monster, dude. I mean, he's huge. And so he walks in, and he's wearing a $600 striped shirt, right? Like Brioni striped shirt and his slacks, and people are coming up to him, and you can tell every time he sat down and every time he got up, it hurt him to do that, right? Like he's a yoked dude. He's 60, whatever at the time,
right.
Back, right? So, but he got up for every single fan that came over to him, myself included. And I've got the picture on my Facebook. My buddy Lou is a huge wrestling fan too. I'm like, see, you know what? You spend a few extra bucks, you get to sit in front of Vince McMahon. And so he took a picture with literally everybody, was really nice to every single person. And then on the show ends, and some big like yoke security dude comes over to get him and bring him backstage, right? And the dude goes, gets him, and then just starts like shoving people out of the way. And Vince is just like, hey. And he's really pissed. He's like, come on, pal. It's not a big deal. Okay.
Pal.
Yeah. Or like, relax, pal. Right. And he just does that. And you're like, yeah, like he gets it. Right. He's a, good, as far as like casual observations at a concert go, good dude. Right. Seemed like a good dude, and recognized that like he had fans, and, got his hurting back ass up every single time to take photos of whatever people wanted.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
Insane.
What's that?
There's a lot of story, God, I guess I got to have you on again, because there's a whole period of our lives where I actually lived at your house, and there's just a lot of stuff, I guess, that I didn't actually take into account of things we've been through. Even though we spent so much time, like I've gone this way, you've gone that way. There's still so much that we did back then.
Yeah.
I did not talk about. And I want to skip forward to now, because this Jason's passing. You with fucking Mama Sin have taken over and started something with Trioxin Tribute. So I want to get to that, because we're already talking for 2 hours.
Right.
So
Okay.
I want to get to how that became a thing, why that started, who took the reins on that, and why who decided to fucking make this a reality.
Yeah. First, just to say, like, you remember, I said earlier, Jason was my best friend through most or all of high school. So, we did a lot of things together. We watched a lot of movies for the first time together. So all those movie lines that people always throw out, Jason and I saw the movie probably the first time together.
Right.
And all of that kind of stuff. So, he
was a good Netflix and chill guy without the chill.
Netflix and chill, and I even said this in his eulogy. For a guy, he really liked to go to the movies in the mall a lot, right? He'd been like going to the movies in the mall on a Saturday afternoon. He just loved going to the movies in the mall.
As a kid, like there was like, you knew if a girl wanted, like, if she wanted to watch a movie with you, you knew that was like code for like, all right, we're banging. But like, Jason always wanted to watch a movie with you for real. Like he'd ask me to watch a movie. He'd ask you, like he wanted to sit down and have a buddy to watch a movie with. You know what I mean?
There's nothing that he wanted more in life. Seriously, was just like, hey, we're gonna hang out and watch movies in our jammies. Right. Like that's what he was. He loved to do, and again, it's weird because it's just like none of the rest of us really ever like did that. A lot of us did that.
The only time he wore his glasses.
Always wore his glasses for a movie.
Right.
Or driving.
Right.
Here's a fun fact about Jason Jason was the most cautious driver in the world.
Very cautious.
It was very cautious. And when I got my license, that's actually like we started hanging out less because I'm like, no, I want to drive. I still have, like I'm safe and aggressive, like aggressively safe.
Bro,
and
I was in a car that I almost died in because you were driving. Remember when we were going on the Parkway?
Yes.
It started spinning out.
I'll never forget that in my life. I thought it was over. Like we had the finger of God on us because there were a gajillion cars in the rain. And
we just missed all of them.
We missed all of them. And we were just literally spinning like this.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the Garden State Parkway where exit 1, where Route 80 intersect. Like it was over, Jack. But yeah.
It was over. Not only that, but like we kind of just all paused. Like we all kind of thought this is it. And like you couldn't control the car. We just stopped. We're just waiting. We're just waiting for impact. And finally we just made it onto the grass. I'm like, all right, I guess we made it.
And laughed as hard as I've ever laughed in my life. Because you're right, that's hysterical. Because we were just sitting there, like waiting. We were all kind of looking at each other, but like we're just waiting for the impact. Like here's the truck, and it never came. So,
yeah, we were looking at each other like, all right, I guess we're alive. All we could do was laugh. That's it.
Because it's all you can do.
Right. You had that boat. Remember, it was
1985 Oldsmobile Delta 88, son. All right, that was my first car. Yeah, I mean, look, it had balled out back tires. I hadn't gotten new tires on yet. Yeah, so I would say, so Jason means and meant a lot to me. And, as things happen and, you just do your own shit, right? And sometimes it involves your old friends and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you cross paths in life again. And then sometimes you bump into each other and realize, it's not the right time. And so, so say, Jason meant a lot to me. And so, I would say that time and then around 2013, because once he went to California and then came back, we hung out a bit. And then, we hung out a few years later a bunch, and then a few years later a bunch. And then, as we were prone to do with one another, we'd get pissy at each other, right? Jason was always up to get pissy, right? And so was I. So, we would always have an issue here or there. Well, not always, but every once in a while we'd kind of have that, or have a weird interaction and then both take it personally because we're both fucking pig-headed Italians, right? Like, so, we
Come on, I drove last time. Come on.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So anyway, we had a good relationship throughout his life, and he meant a lot to me. So, when he died, uh, it was me and Joe hadn't really talked in a while, and
Right.
then Joe and I started talking, and Joe and I wrote a eulogy together, right? And when I read it, it was I realized I had the wrong copy of the thing and I fucked up the end, but it was interesting to do. But so I had call. It meant a lot to me to be able to do. And when
So
Joe,
wait, you had a wrong copy of the eulogies? You read the wrong one?
there's more to the story.
Okay.
It's not, yeah, but more or less, more or less. Anyway, it was fun to do, and so I was talking to Joe that week, and Joe was having a
Listen,
hard.
don't feel bad about that, because you remember Bill, my stepdad?
Yeah.
I actually forgot him for the wake. Like, I was supposed to bring his ashes to the funeral, and I forgot him at the house. So everyone's sitting in the church, and I had to we had to pause this. I had to drive back to the house, get Bill for his own funeral. I forgot him for his own funeral.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
all right. Things happen, It's
Oh, yeah.
like your emotions are crazy. Like, yeah.
Yeah. No. It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. But yeah, it was. No. Exactly. Shit happens, and so. But neither here nor there. I had told Joe early in the week. I'm like, listen, why don't we go find a place and have a show? Like, let's just do it, right? For Jason, we'll have one last Mr. Monster set, right? And he's like, sure, I guess I'll do it. He's like, call up Loki.
So it was just supposed to be a set.
Well, it was just a set. Around the time of the night of the funeral it was the night. Yeah, it was the night before the funeral. It was the night of the wake. So, by the way, so Jerry only came to Jason's wake, which was really cool, and I understand that a lot of you guys, and I have as well, kind of gotten a little bit closer to that whole crowd and everything else. But like when we were 14, what would be cooler than if somebody told me Jerry only was coming to a funeral? You know what I mean?
Jason,
Like, yeah, exactly. That was cool. And then, by the way, apparently Jason's known Kevin Connolly and never told anybody about that.
Right.
Did you?
I didn't know. No.
No. So I called Joe and I was like, hey, let's do one last set. And so I called you up to see if you would play. You said yes. I called up Paul Lifeless to see if you would play drums. He said yes. I called up some of the other guys who ended up coming that could do it. And so we, after the wake that night, we all went to, what was it, Clash Bar, Carlos?
Yeah.
And it was fun, right? Like, it was fun. That was an awful week. Like, I lost it driving in the wake.
I almost forgot about that, because I only played a couple of songs, right? But like, I was just such a mess that I forgot that we actually did that one set at the Clash Bar.
See, I thought that was almost like I'll never forget that, because to me, number one, that was one of, in a fucked up awful way, that was one of the best nights I had in a long time, right? Like, what's the so when Tracy's singing the last song that night, and the Amy Sue showed up, right, to the show, who Amy and Jason were a thing. There's a song called Amy Sue. It's about this girl, Amy Sue. And I had asked Amy if she wanted to come, and I don't know what went on between the two of them, to be honest with you. So I don't know how that all worked out, but she ended up, showing up at that, and I got my arm around her and saw like a bunch of people I hadn't seen in forever, including like Lisa Tucci, who's was there, and some, like, it was a fun night in his honor, because there were so many people that hadn't spent any time together in so many years.
Yeah, including me and Joe. Fucking, if you remember,
Yeah.
Joe and I had a little bit of fucking bad breakup, and I hadn't really even been home to make any of that better. But and like that kind of brought us back. Like, all right, we need to pay a little more attention to ourselves here.
That's exactly right. And you and Joe have gotten a lot closer, and that's good. You know, Jason passing, as awful as it is, it's made a lot of us a lot closer,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're all like, hey, you know, I guess it can happen. All right, fine. Like, you know, we could lose one day. And it's been so, and if something had to come out of that, it's that. But anyway, nonetheless, so, you know, I had, with Joe did a lot to put that thing together, but I had a lot to do with putting that together. So at some point, I guess last February, I went to Mom Sin's house just to, you know, check in. Me and Jess Collins went.
Right.
And, you know, it was, you know, we sat and we talked for a while. And we had some pizza, and, you know, it was nice spending some time with Mom Sin. And yeah, and Mom Sin brings up another point. They were swinging from the rafters at Jason's wake. There was no room in that place. None.
None.
None. There was lines out the door. Yep. Jerry only was probably expecting to show up, see a mom, a grandma, a couple aunts, you know.
Yeah. It was definitely the most people I've seen in a week. And, you know, the fact that I was even there is crazy. At that time, I had been traveling a lot, and, it just so happened that not only was I in the States, but I was actually in New Jersey. And, I get a phone call to go to fucking Mama Sin's house, from Joe, immediately. Like, yo, come to Mama Sin's house. It was the day after or the day of that everyone found out. It's just crazy that I was even around for that, because it was just a small window that I was even there, and to be there for everyone and to have, that crew back for those emotional moments, man. It's amazing that I was even there for that.
It was, and it was even more amazing, and we can tell that in a minute, but that you were there for the show last year.
The real show, yeah, the other show.
You know, and so, you know, on that day, she's like, Mom Sin was like, I would love to have a 40th birthday party, right? And I'm like, okay, wait. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I bet we could put something together, right? We'll get a cake, and maybe we'll have some people play some songs. And we just kind of thought it'd be a fun little thing, right? And hey, we'll charge a couple of tickets to pay everybody's, you know, road expenses, and it'll just be a really nice night with a small but not too small, like a nice little audience, right? And so we thought it would be like, hey, we'd probably get enough people to run a little private venue, right? And kind of have a little thing. So yeah, let's do a shindig. And so, you know, I kind of thought about it, and I told her, all right, I'll go ahead and put that together. And early on, I was reached out to you right away. Right? Because I'm like, hey, if I'm going to do this, how am I going to do it?
Bad because I was like, yo, dog, I'm supposed to be in South America. I'm not going to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might not be here, but I'll give you every fucking piece of advice that I could possibly give you.
Yeah. Exactly. And you did. And, Joe at the time was dealing with some stuff. He was moving. So he was a little tough to get in touch with early on during the process. So I called up Goolsby. Right. And Goolsby's like, yeah, all right. And so the first thought was, all right, we'll have, a Mr. Monster tribute set. We'll have, some guys come up and sing some of the songs. And, we'll have Argyle Goolsby play. And, hey, we'll get the guys from the Crypt Keeper 5. They'd probably like to play. And we'll call it a day, right? Right. Easy peasy. Oh, and Darrow can play a set, right? We'll play a set. And it would be like a nice, fun night in Jason's honor with his favorite peeps and all that kind of stuff. And so I asked Johnny Ott to make a poster for the show. He said, yes, of course. And so we had a poster. And so I called up Debonair, and we went and took a look at the place, and we said, okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and book this. And so we booked it. They gave us a reasonable rate on everything, and with very little fanfare. I mean, I think we had put this. I don't think we had even put this page together yet, kind of tribute page. I don't know, But I think this is what maybe made me put it together.
How far off was this from the wake to the actual tribute?
So the wake
Time doesn't make sense in my mind at that. I was just, you know how it was for me. But
yeah.
So how much actual time was between the wake and Trioxin Tribute?
He passed in December, right before Christmas, and the tribute show was the last weekend of June. So 6 months, more or less. And so it was cool. It was cool how everybody really contributed. So I called some different people, asked who should play. I reached out to Jess O'Lantern, reached out to some of the other bands. The Brickbats came and reached out to me. Like, I never knew those guys.
Right.
Jason always loved those guys, but the Brickbats reached out, had started talking to Mike Hideous because he was getting the Empire Hideous back together. So and it was a kind of really tough time for me in my life, but it was good to have something to focus on. Right. So all of these guys were like, yeah, whatever you want. And I'm like, oh shit, all right, this is gonna happen. So I put it together. I get the dates. We go back and forth on some dates. We make sure that the whole Momsen family can make it. Who's got to make it, and we nailed down our date. And then I think I threw up a ticket link, right, one day, and I think I'd had the page up for a few days, and maybe it had 100 followers or something. And I put the ticket link up, and all of a sudden I start getting text messages from Debonair like, yo, you just sold like 150 tickets in like 10 minutes, dog. Right. And so, and this was, again, went on sale Friday, like when she remembered to put the link up. Right. And
oh yeah, we're doing this.
Yep. It just organically went out. And that was that.
It's a testament to his fucking reach, man. Because even back then, we were getting like press in Germany and we were like kind of like, we almost didn't respect it because we didn't know the value of or the magnitude of what that was. But that shit reached out all over the world, even meeting like people like Woolsby and TB, like going out to other bands and them listening to us and like, oh shit, we're like-minded, we should tour together. Like, that was never like a priority. It's not how we set out to do. We were just like kind of going blind, like we were driving a car with our eyes closed, and we didn't know the magnitude of what that was till way after.
It's it was. I mean, look, it was stunning. She was like, people all over the world are coming. There's people coming from Hong Kong, Taiwan. I don't know who came from Hong Kong. Maybe they didn't make it, but they bought tickets. There, people come from Germany, UK, Mexico, Argentina. Like it was apeshit. Alaska, Idaho. I mean, just I'm thinking most people are going to be in New York, New Jersey. I thought maybe we could fill up, 150 tickets, right? And now all of a sudden, 500 tickets are gone. Right. In whatever it was, 4 hours, 3 hours.
How did that shift your idea of what you were doing?
So once I saw that, and I'll kind of get into the genesis of this, but once I saw that, the goal was, okay, you know what? Let's add a second show, right? Screw it. People want to see this. It's probably going to be their last chance to see this. So let's go ahead and have them, let's add a second show. So we added a second show, which was, on paper, more or less identical to the first show. Right. And that sold out in 24 hours. So then I realized what we had on our hands was not a local punk rock show to pay tribute to our buddy. Right. It became a trek. I mean,
it's a legacy thing, dude. It's totally his legacy left behind of people respecting it and loving it, and yeah, it's important to them. And yeah, it's actually incredible. It's really incredible.
Joe and I joked about this. Like, we just wish we could have, we wish we could, wake Jason up and just be like, dude.
Yeah, yo, dog.
You
have no idea what you did.
Not even bro, all your boys are throwing the most bomb ass party for you for your like you would shit if you saw this, right? And people are gonna come from all over the world, right? And it's just like, oh man, I'd give a limb to be standing with you guys and be like, dude, you wouldn't imagine what you missed, right? You couldn't imagine what you missed.
No, you should have just heard Tracy sing Rocket Queen, dude.
Right. So, so then I thought about it and I said, okay, that if Jason and I were 15 years old and 17 years old and we could just literally have the best fucking party ever, what would we do? Okay, we would definitely have a cover band called Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters playing our right. Remember how much Jason loved that scene in that movie for some reason? And so I thought about how do we personalize it to him? How do we make it a great event for Momsen and Alice and Jason's family and friends that we don't know? Because again, if you know Jason, you know that there's a bunch of people he references that he's pretty close to. No matter how close you are to them, I didn't know who Cousin Brian was. I didn't. Never met Cousin Brian. Heard a million Cousin Brian stories. Maybe I met him once, like crossing paths on my way out of the house because. But he was just very kind of segmented that way. And so, how do we build a show that, number one, people didn't pay a lot of money for the tickets, but it didn't matter. People were spending days to get there, right? Just absolute days to get there from all over the world. So obviously we have to give them not only their money's worth, but their time's worth. And we have to honor Jason in a way that people's minds. So, and I put my Vince McMahon hat on and thought about it. And, I called up, a very sensitive part of this was Blitzkid, right? Blitzkid hadn't played together since, I don't know how long it had been, Carlos.
8 years,
right?
That's something.
Yeah, 8 years or something. And and I assume I don't know anything about it, right? So that was kind of a good advantage I had in kind of making those calls and basically saying like, hey guys, I don't know what the fuck is going on with your band, but Jason was your boy. I know Jason loved you guys. So do you guys want to get together and play this show? And the way everybody else had prepped me for these conversations was that, this may happen or this may happen, but, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And dude, I could not have gotten a faster yes from the both of them.
Yeah. It meant so much to everyone, dude. Honestly. Yeah. If I had the time, if I was around and had the time, and quickly when I had just gotten home and I did have the time, I immediately like, yo, I don't know who's playing guitar for Darrow, but I'm actually going to be home, so someone's got to go because I'm going to play that fucking
Yeah. Let's tell that story in a second, like all the way through, because I think this, like again, I don't want to get too Sicilian on everybody, but like there's something more to this than
there's a lot of magic.
There was a lot of fucking magic, guys, like a ton of magic, right? And so I think I got credit for a lot of things that I certainly didn't deserve, right? And it was amazing how it all fell into place. And so Blitzkid's now back together doing that, they're doing these shows. And then we booked Jess O'Lantern and we booked Robbie Bloodshed and we booked some of these other folks. And, I know one of Jason's favorite songs was Skulls. And I know Jess O'Lantern loves, he always loved Jess O'Lantern's voice and everything else. So I know she plays acoustic, so I asked her to do a version of Skulls. Then we booked Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters, and Mike Pierce came back from the dead, which is always fun, right? And he joined up with some of the guys from. Hang on one second.
Yeah, you don't know how to fucking turn your ringer off?
No, it's not a ringer. It's a device.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, do I have to yell at your daughter over here?
Yeah, no.
fuck you doing over there? Just calm it down. Just turn that shit down.
So anyway, so
Sorry.
no, okay. And it was cool. So when I called Crypt Keeper 5, like I said, I'm like, hey guys, any way you could differentiate your shows for like from one day to the next? And Johnny Ott was like, yeah, no problem. And like comes up with like the perfect idea. Right. And then, Mike Hideous had some issues with making a Saturday show. So we ended up doing his stuff on Sunday and having an after party. And that was the first big Empire Hideous show back. And, like you were not supposed to be there. You just weren't. Yeah. And, that whole fiasco in South America went on with you guys. Now all of a sudden Carlos is here. Right. And so Carlos is here. Mike Forte's here. Right. Joe's here. All like Goolsby's here. Tracy's here, and Mike Pierce is here. And everybody was there. And everybody and it was an amazing time to see, kind of when you were able to do it, because also you kind of held a couple of sets together there, too, which was, really awesome. But it was like, man, Carlos is here. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. How the fuck did that happen? Right. Like there was zero chance you were making that, and you would have loved to.
Yeah. I was actually kind of bummed because you told me way in advance that this was happening, and I told you way in advance. Yeah. I can't fucking do it, dog. I'm supposed to be in fucking Brazil. And, things happened, and I came home early. I landed in Jersey, and I landed in Jersey the week of that show, like 5 days before maybe. And I called Joe, like, I don't know who's playing guitar for you. I don't know if you got a guy, but it's time to tell them they're out. I'm in. Fucking, like, I'm good. Let's rehearse. Let's fucking get 2 good jams in, and let's do this, man.
Yeah. It's that's exactly right. And then the Mr. Monster show, right? Like those guys came together. We did a rehearsal. Emilio came in from California. Like, because we sold out 2 shows with pretty good capacity, there wasn't a lot of actual money made at the shows, believe it or not. Like, right. Bottom line, it wasn't very much. But what we were able to do is do the bells and whistles. We were able to fly in Emilio from California. We were able to bring in, right, some different acts. We were able to give all the guys, and Jason absolutely would have loved the guys, an opportunity to make money on merch. And we had enough money to where, we gave the guys money to cover their other expenses, right? And they didn't ask for a fucking thing. Nobody asked for a thing.
Had to travel. Joe's coming from Memphis,
Memphis, right?
He's coming from different directions because I think TB had just moved. Goolsby's in Connecticut. Yeah. Like, there's just, there's a lot of people don't know the arms and legs that have to move together to put a show together. Like, they just see a bunch of people in the same room and like, oh, that's awesome. But like, there's a lot of work that comes with bringing this amount of people together because everyone's got shit going on in their lives. Like, everyone literally has their own frequencies of what's going on. And to change it, like that, it takes a lot of organization, a lot of fucking, even things change at last minute. You have to be on it. Like, it takes a lot.
And it's amazing. Everybody around that show, and I assume there are people, that were at the show that are watching. It's like everybody at the show needs to understand that everybody did their jobs. Like, it was one of those things where everybody did what they were supposed to do perfectly, right? The performers performed. The people that, I needed technical help from, right? Stuff like that. They delivered that. All of a sudden, Noah shows up and is essentially, our stage manager, right, and somehow gets 15 bands on. We had no time. There was no fucking time to get all those bands on. Blitzkid was going to get cut off. Like, we were pretty close to that on Saturday. Like, planned out, we were pretty close to that. Somehow, a bunch of guys in bands who can never hit their marks on time. I mean, Blitzkid can, but a lot of these other guys, like, I've seen them fiddle fuck on and off stage, right? Somehow Noah Bailey, Shadow Windhawk, who you're going to have on this, was able.
This Wednesday.
Yeah, this Wednesday. And, I'd love to hear because he just shows up out of nowhere and all of a sudden, he's wearing a fucking walkie-talkie. He's wearing a walkie-talkie, and he is.
I asked him if that thing worked. Actually, I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
he was just wearing a fucking walkie-talkie, dog, or does that shit work?
He looked great with it though, didn't he? I mean, he just looked like you could see that dude running a Broadway show. I mean, he's an exceptional human being. He's a great guy, and he was able to do that. And then all the bands came, and everybody blew the fucking doors off. And we all did that for our buddy Jason, and we all did what we could. And it's funny, the first day I was wearing a suit because once I kind of realized. Once I realized that it was we had to try to make this an event, we wanted to make it a little bit different, right? So I thought, oh, maybe I should host the event while also promoting the event, which first go around, you probably shouldn't do that because I also wrote no fucking material to do it. I dropped the ball on that.
Would you have written material? Would you have a?
Yeah, I would have collected thoughts. I would have had a couple of jokes. Yeah, of course. I would have written some material to get through that, but I was supposed to wear a tuxedo. That ended up being a suit, and then it was 140 degrees in there, and I never did it anyway. Right. So it was a really stupid idea that I ended up bagging. And there were a few of those different things, but the goal was to make it an experience for everybody. And I think that there were certain times during that weekend, particularly on Saturday, but certainly on Sunday as well. I can point to and in the group that we've set up, the people will recognize these pictures. Momsen is not. I mean, she'll listen to it because Jason loves it all, but her and her friends have been hearing loud ass music for 7 hours at this point.
Yeah.
And knows Blitzkid.
I have no idea how she put up with our shit for all that fucking time.
I don't know either, but that was another thing, designing the set list around, we wanted to make it palatable for cousins and aunts who aren't into this stuff. Right. So that's why we didn't schedule Mr. Monster last, not because it wasn't a headlining act, but just because we didn't want to make people wait around until 12:30 to see that, right? We wanted people to see it in a fun way, and that's why we scheduled things the way that we scheduled them. But it was interesting to Momsen's all right, Blitzkid's got one more song or a couple more songs. I'm gonna kind of start making my way out. And Momsen's walking out the door after Blitzkid steps off, and she didn't know what they had coming. So I stop her. I'm like, listen, I need you to just stay for 5 more minutes. And I look at Joe, who's standing right there. I said, take Momsen around to the stage. And then Momsen walked up on stage and saw, Tracy and Goolsby and Chris wearing, the bloody white shirts, singing, Torn Prince. And, that was one of the most emotional moments of the weekend for me, for sure. I mean, it's it was just one of those things where you're like, dude, I wish you could see this. These are all your boys. We're all together. I don't even know. I mean, I think I'd met them at Brian Kellner's house a bunch of times, but will be I don't know these two fucking guys. But I mean, it was never we didn't have any history. It was just we were just cousins. It was all comfortable. And so it was a really emotional event. I mean, and Alice playing with Crypt Keeper, singing Temple of the Dog, right? Awesome. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a showstopper. It was a showstopper.
And that's one of my favorite songs ever, by the way. And I wish I didn't even know that was going to happen, or she had it in her. I was blown away by that. Awesome.
Yeah, she really worked on that, and she went out and rehearsed it with Crypt Keeper guys, and she, Jason was married to her. Wish you could have seen that. That was an amazing moment. Looking at what Crypt Keeper guys and the Mr. Monster set, everybody's singing Mr. Monster songs. I mean, Jess O'Lantern killed it, and Emilio did well, and Tracy killed it. And, that was a really special set because, remember, Carlos, for me, I heard most of these Mr. Monster songs before anybody else did, right? I mean, Momsen probably first, yeah. And then for a bunch of them, like I was second, like, before Joe was in the band. Right. And then even after Joe was kind of in the band for a while, kind of playing with that, whatever, the Mr. Monster and the whatevers you had. Right. And it was like, I remember when, like when Jason brought me the first demo of like a Bigger Shop of Horrors. Right. I think, and I was like, oh, dude, this is, this is.
Hated that song.
Yeah. Everybody else did. But like, me and him always kind of like that.
In fact, I was giving him ultimatums at the time, like, yo, dog, we ain't playing that song. And if you want to play that song, then you got to get another guitar player to play the whole show, because I ain't playing that song.
But in hindsight, Carlos, when you go back, because it's not a simple song. Like, it's not a simply arranged song. It's a pretty song.
It wasn't about that for me, but yeah. But I get it.
But so to be able to personally go up and pull that off barely, but enough was amazing, and be able to do it with all of our friends and Jason's family, it was great. And the Captain Geach set was cool because we picked.
I had a fun time with that. I didn't play, but I had a great time with it.
Right. I mean, Brian Kellner up there singing, and Tracy Bird's killing Rocket Queen.
God damn.
He used to sing in Misfits songs like. It's cool. It was a cool, fun time, and that's what it was supposed to be.
I don't know. I don't know if people realize how much Guns N' Roses played a role in Jason's musical career, but like it was probably the biggest part of his career, aside from the Misfits.
It was his idol.
Yeah, Duff was right up there with it, dude. Everything we did was around Duff's tone, like in Angelston. I could show you parts where we're ripping off Duff's parts. Like, Guns N' Roses was a big part of our thing. Like, you mentioned Week before. Like, that was kind of molded after two different Guns N' Roses songs. There's, November Rain and Don't Cry is kind of right in that alley. But yeah, man, a lot of those songs, Amy Sue, if you strip away the parts, very Guns N' Roses, like
all of his song arrangements are very Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
it's very un-Ramones and very Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
and that's what made Jason and that's why Mr. Monster look, it's a bad breed of no offense to. There's a lot of garbage in that kind of horror punky scene, and there's really good stuff, but it's a bad breed by and large. But that's why that stood out, right? There's because it was that different enough. It sounds the same, but it's different enough. It was distinct enough to where it was different enough to make it really distinct, and it was really interesting to be able to to actually try to sing that song. And then I heard Jason do it live, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like I knew you'd be pissed. I knew I should have given it a little more, but I'm not a singer or a performer. So, but yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of those songs the first time, and so that was special for me. And then all the people we saw that weekend, like people came from everywhere. Like Jason's best friend, who I didn't know, I don't know if you know him, from California, came out from LA. He lives in San Antonio now, right? I mean, you were talking to a gal from Seattle, right?
Yeah,
flew in that night. And and people from everywhere. So it was a really fun time, and it was a really good experience. And we're going to do it again.
Let's talk about that actually, because it was going to happen this year. COVID hits. There's a lot of shit going on. You guys live in the Northeast, which is just it's a different set of circumstances altogether. It's not going to happen this year. But what's the future of Trioxin Tribute? What in your head? What do you want to see? Where do you want to go? What is it for you? Like, is it gonna it's gonna happen again? Yes.
Yes. So let's just take a step back, right? So Jason passed. He had a couple of bills, right? And that stuff was taken care of. The goal going forward is to be able to deliver the definitive product or the definitive story of Jason and Mr. Monster and kind of the whole band and kind of the wider scene and the wider group. So the goal really is to, at some point, tell the full Mr. Monster story and provide people the things that they want that will kind of shape out Jason's musical legacy. Right. So that's the goal going forward. And that's something that, I don't know where that's ultimately going to go and what that's ultimately going to mean. But when we talk about these things, Mom Sin's got a lot to say in what goes on, and obviously, right, like I feel like Joe and Mom Sin are the two people that, like I make a couple of the phone calls and, I'll do a little bit of the legwork, but by and large, Joe and Mom Sin are the ones who kind of, are really owning this at this point. And I don't mean own as in own, like, possess anything physical, but I just mean kind of where we're going next. But yes, we will have another show. Okay. And, I know there have been some people talking about, kind of we were looking to potentially do something this year. And then some people reached out to me saying some kind of weird stuff, wondering if there's some weird beefs, which is kind of odd to me. Have you seen that too?
I have not.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean.
But I have been off social media. Like, I am. I don't know. I never pay attention to that shit because there's just so much. You can only pay attention to so much bullshit before, like, you got to let it go.
Yeah. So, we're.
By the way, cheers. I'm doing a shot right now. Good old Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Yeah. So next, so for this year, we're trying to put something together for Halloween. We had some really cool ideas, but it wasn't going to work out, right? It was, and I think you talked about this with Joe. Somebody told me you talked about this
and
with
Tracy.
Joe.
Yeah.
And Tracy, yeah. It's like those, look, the bottom line was what we were potentially looking to do would have been really limited as far as the number of people that would have been able to go. And it would have been a high price ticket and very much kind of a quote unquote VIP type of experience. Right. And, the reality is we're in very uncertain times and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, or anything else. And, there are a lot of different, moving parts. So, the thought was to maybe do kind of a hybrid live event. Right. But the issue was, and this is where, Tracy had reached out to me before Blitzkid kind of did their thing. And he said, hey man, are you sure, nothing's going on? And so I said, no, don't think we're going to be able to do anything. Because the issue was, I wasn't going to, if we were going to do a live stream, it was going to cost some money, right? Like, I don't think people mind spending money for something, especially now, but especially if it's good. Right. What we delivered last year was for a $20 ticket. You could go see one of the best shows you'll ever see in your life. So if we were going to do a live stream, we were going to do something pretty interesting. But the issue is, given the fact that there is so much that would have gone into that financially, right? And this is not a for-profit enterprise for me personally, right? Like, it would have cost to be able to pull that off. Would have meant having a professional camera crew in Germany, would have meant having a professional camera crew in Teaneck, and it would have required a lot of technical expertise. I asked you if you wanted to produce it.
I'll tell you this, Sean.
Yeah.
Not too late.
Right, I understand.
Not too late, because you don't need Blitzkid to have a Mr. Monster show.
No. Yeah, but I'm not suggesting we do.
Yeah. But also, it costs a lot less if you don't have all these other players involved. So if we just get the right people to play a full-blown 2-hour, hour-and-a-half Mr. Monster show.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And maybe that'll be a super secret thing that we can probably pull off. Not bad. See, guys, we're talking out loud here. So there may be something to do around that. But what I would say is, the way that it was originally planned, and because I think people should get an explanation around this, is it would have cost about 10 grand, right? 10, 11,000 is what I figured. And for me to put that up and not get like, I'm literally just risking like 5 figures for literally no upside, right? And
I got you.
Yeah, it's like the risk profile there is I couldn't. I have a daughter. I couldn't legally I couldn't. Yeah, I put that money at risk for no reward. And I think it would have done well, and I think it would have made money, and I think it would have moved us forward significantly. But I also think for that for the ticket price that we were looking at and all that, it would have required an excellent production. And the goal here, by the way, in everything that we do, and Carlos, you and I have talked about this. The goal is to have everything be top notch from a production standpoint.
Yeah.
There's no more.
I think that's important, especially now.
Yep, and people will pay all of these good people, and I know a lot of these guys and girls were like, "Hey, I love Jason." And I'll tell this one. I'll tell you a couple other things about that show that's going to touch everybody here that I don't know if I haven't shared with anybody. It is first the amount of people who messaged me, but when tickets went on sale and said, "Oh my God, I love Jason. I'm going to save money from every paycheck for the next 10 weeks to be able to come from God knows what state to drive 1,250 miles one way to come to this show, but I don't have $20 right now. Can you please hold a ticket for me?" Right. There were fucking 50 of those that went exactly like that. After the show, and this is a testament not to the show or the people. This is a testament to Jason and all the people in the room, the fans in the crowd and our friends. Was I got more than one, not a ton, but more than two. I got 2 messages of people who told me that either the show itself, they were considering, drastic measures when it came to their own life, and just looking forward to that show kept at least one person alive, which is like, dude, I don't need it. Like, I appreciate it, and it's a great story, and it's touching to tell, and Jason's mom should hear it, and everybody else should hear it, but it's just like, ooh, dude, too heavy on me, right? It's just an example of what this crew and this scene can do for people and for human beings. And like, we saved at least one person's life, and Jason's music, again, quote unquote, saved my life at a certain time, came from somebody else. I got 2 of those. Think about that.
Yeah.
So, will we do it again? Absolutely. Will we do it? Great. Yeah, we're going to do it. Awesome. Everybody should definitely go check out that BlitzKid deal. Really cool. Goolsby was planning a really awesome event at the movie theater for everybody. And it was going to be really cool. Like, we spent a lot of time talking about that event and kind of how that event would work. And it was going to be really cool. But the movie itself is really cool. And I think what he's going to do on that live stream is really cool. And I'm also understanding that the BlitzKid, what they're working on there and kind of what they're working on shooting is going to be really sick. And it's going to be something different and better than anybody in this scene has ever seen. So, like, people have to fucking go check that out. Like, if you're a fan, go do that. Because those guys, and I'll share something else about those guys. They booked a tour.
Now I have someone to talk about Tracy with, because after Wednesday with Shadow Windhawk, Tracy's my guest again on Friday.
Perfect. Exactly. I mean, I hear what they're working on is just, the bomb and really sick. So, I think the cool thing is the fans are going to start to get some different stuff and some really high quality stuff. And those guys, look, and it's no secret. Like, go check out all of Tracy. Have you checked out Tracy's videos on his Patreon?
Yeah.
You said yeah or no?
Yes.
Like, they're really fucking cool. Like, and if you're a BlizzKid fan or a friend of Tracy's, like, check those out. Number one, they're helpful, right? And like, they're useful. And then, number two, like, that's a good dude who's, like those guys, I'm going to tell you, really got hurt from this COVID thing.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't know what, I know the venues were bigger, and I know the tickets were going like gangbusters for them. Right. And they were selling really, really well. And this came down. And
it's such an uncertain time because now you don't even know what venues are going to be around in the future.
Yeah.
And you don't know what capacity you can even have shows at.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, guys, just in case anybody's watching who bought a ticket to the 2020 show that looks like it's not going to happen. I've just got to get in touch with Debonair. They've got the money. So I've got to kind of get them, it looks like, to release that at this time, or if Carlos has a great idea, we'll go ahead and do that. But right. Debonair was great to us last year hosting us, so yeah.
And it's also just with that in mind, it's a good time to pay attention who's a lifer in this scene and support them, because guys like Tracy Bird, Chris White, Argyle Goolsby, fucking AV, like, we've done nothing but dedicate our lives to try to do this, and we have done it in some capacity. And now that it's forced away from us, and we don't even know what's going to happen in the future, like, honestly, dude, like, how many venues do you think in North Jersey alone are going to close due to COVID?
Well, New Jersey is a different situation, but yeah.
But it's all around, dude, because we're kind of like, yo, dog, 25% capacity is not going to cut it for the Bills. You know what I'm saying? So, like, all around the country, everything's closing down.
Well, yeah, but things are starting to open back up, thankfully. Look, we know a whole lot more about COVID than we did. Like, things, I think, are going to slowly unwind. It looks like
they're going to unwind, but there's casualties that are permanent. That for everyone.
Yeah, but here's what's going to protect the venues, guy, and this is where I tell all of my musician friends, like, if you want to learn about the music business, go to Live Nation's, go to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and go read all of Live Nation's public disclosure reports. They tell you all about what's happening in the music business. Yeah. I think the venues are ultimately going to be okay, except for the owner, proprietor ones, because what's going to happen? There's right now we're in the midst of a people like me who used to work in Midtown Manhattan, and my office space, or work area or office space, depending on where I'm at, is probably 100 square feet and probably costs $7,000 a month. Okay. There's no reason for my company to put me in an office ever again. There's going to be a huge commercial real estate glut that's going to put a lot of pressure on the banks. People will go bankrupt, but they'll reopen under other stuff.
I'm going to show people my office space right now. I'm going to take away my chroma key, which is my green screen.
Right.
So, like, literally what you're seeing behind me is like there's a wall 3 feet behind me with the green screen. And this is now my office. We have very limited space to fucking work with. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's working like this.
Right. So people aren't going back to offices. That's all. I mean, some will, but it's more or less it's over. Yeah. So you're gonna have a big commercial real estate crisis. I think that if people want to go
to Manhattan, Jesus Christ,
that's a different thing. But
I'm afraid to live over there.
Well, it's funny when you mentioned Hogs and Heifers before. Like, I remember when you guys played at Hogs and Heifers, it was still like you could still get mugged over there, kind of.
Right.
Like, there were still some, biker gangs still hung out in that neighborhood, right? In the
That's why Hogs and Heifers was awesome, because there had bikers.
Right, but I go there a few years ago, and it's just like model.
Also the heifers.
Yeah. Well.
Right.
Right. It's models and rooftop bars and shit over there.
Right.
So it's a different ball game. Now it's getting spooky again. But yeah, look, put it this way: if you can have a show, if people want to come see you, there will be places to do that. I don't worry about that. Yeah. If somebody wants to spend $1, people will get it out of them. Don't worry.
It's worse than you think, though. You're oversimplifying it, because There's so many bands, and there are going to be less venues, and those venues are already being blocked off in time. Everyone's not touring, so everyone's targeting touring spring 2021. There's not going to be enough venues to appease all the fucking people that are trying to go back to work. You know what I mean? That's already problem one. Okay, and that blocked off time, especially by Live Nation, who's got a monopoly on the fucking industry. And for them to be calling the shots is sickening.
Keep talking, and I'll be right back.
Yeah. It's going to be a big problem for a lot of bands, and not everyone can tour in the same time. That's just not possible. There's always seasons to touring. Some bands tour in the spring. A lot of other bands play only festivals in the summers. A lot of bands, the fall is very heavy for them. But right now, everyone's targeting March, April, May of 2021. Do you think we can all do it? No, it's not fucking possible. So there's going to be a lot of casualties. There's going to be bands who make it because they thought they were thoughtful enough to book in advance, and there's going to be bands who fall apart and you're never going to see again because they couldn't restart with everyone else, man. So it's going to be an interesting time. There's less venues. There's going to be less bands. I'm telling you that's going to happen.
Okay, fine. So tell me this, Carlos, and maybe you're right. But how much money would it cost to temporarily rent enough music equipment to, and I'm not talking about the old school shows, but to rent enough music equipment, enough PA, a board, all that shit, and put it in Armory or put it somewhere else. If you want to have a fucking show, you can have a fucking show. And that's where like the DIY punk guys got to remember that. If you got 300 people in town that want to come see you and everything's booked, tough shit. Go figure out a VFW. Go spend $1,500 to rent equipment for a night and bring a track, like adapt, figure it out. But if people want to,
there will be some bands that do that, but there will be other bands that are used to a certain standard that won't do that. And I'm telling you, I think there's going to be a big casualty of musicians that will cease to be touring musicians.
You think?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You make a living off of this, dog. You got kids. Imagine. All right, I don't have kids, so I don't know that life. But like, people that do have kids, they have a mortgage to pay for. They got families that they're trying to provide for, and they've used the music industry as their means to do that. Bro, this is a scary time. Not only have we taken a full year, like, by the time the music industry gets back going, it will be a full year off.
Yep. But like I go back to, you and we're not like, I don't know, that, I don't know, soft, like, figure it out. Right. And if you don't figure it out and your band dies, sorry.
A lot of people figure it out by doing something else.
Maybe. Like, I think that, I told you, I think this is a good future for you. You know how to talk. Most people don't know how to talk. You have a good perspective on life. You're not poisoned by, the political shit that's going on out there. Like, it's a good spot. But I mean, yeah, people got to get better at making stuff. Like, in all fairness, Carlos, it's the problem with all of my musician friends, and I'm just shooting you straight, is like, y'all played for a band that y'all ended up playing for the same fucking guy who ended up tanking his career twice. Right. And you guys all spent a cumulative huge number of years when instead, or, it should have been all you guys working together over that period of time. Right.
I actually don't have a fear of what's in my future, because we talked about this before. I'm very a technical fucking, I feel like I have a grip on where I can go. I am not afraid of what the future holds for you. In fact, I think I have a leg up on my future than most guys, because I am fully committed. I am proficient in my fucking craft. I fucking, I'm multifaceted. Like, I could easily get a job anywhere else the moment things open back up. I am not 0% worried about where I can land.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, dude, you got to have. You got to have guys looking for you to help them out already, right? Did that one day
Absolutely.
or no?
Yeah.
Okay, babes.
Hey, girl, how you doing?
Do you want to say hi to everybody? No. Do you want to show them what you're doing, or do you want to just say hi?
It's only a whopping 15 people right now. It's okay. Oh, there you go. All right. Hi.
So, all right. So,
Hold on. I'll show my face. Yeah. All right. Oh, well. All right. Peace.
Yeah.
See you later.
Uh,
What a prissy walk. She's gonna be a princess, dog. She's a princess.
Oh yeah. I don't, dude. Let me tell you something. This is what kind of sucks about all you guys. It's like, listen. Well, and I'm going to say this for anybody who's watching or anybody who ever watches this. Like, listen, there was a time where I was like, I could never imagine having to share my iTunes library with a bunch of child stuff in it. It's totally worth it. Just do it.
Listen, I have a dog, and that's tough enough. I don't know how you have a kid.
There are so many fucked up fathers out there. It's like all you guys are totally made to do it.
Right.
I'm the best girl dad on the planet. I mean, right now I'm doing a podcast at night, and she's still up at close to 11, but whatever. It's not a school.
We're approaching 3 hours. I never thought I would talk to you for 3 fucking hours.
Why? We talked on the phone for 9 hours, like 6 weeks ago.
I guess so.
Yeah, on a Saturday. Did you have you been watching sports since I've been back?
I have.
What have you been watching? Hockey or
both?
what?
All of it. Well, I don't watch sports the way I used to anymore because YouTube has ruined sports for me. I can now watch full basketball games in 9 minutes. I'll watch hockey games live, but like basketball, I'll only do the House of Highlights condenses a basketball game in about 8 to 9 minutes.
Okay.
Football games, I'd love to watch around the league, so I'll watch the Giants, I'll watch other shit, but like around the league, dude, I'll only watch the condensed games. It takes me 11 minutes to watch a full football game.
Yeah, I can't. I don't do that shit. I don't even watch that. To me, like I want to sit down and watch a ball game for 3. That just sounds fucking exhausting to me.
UFC is something I have to watch live. I cannot watch highlights of UFC. If I know who's gonna win, it takes away the edge of like my hairs don't stand up. You know, like when you're in a championship fight, you know, Covington versus Usman, those guys hate each other. Your hairs only stand up if you watch that live. There's no way that you can watch it after the fact, after you know the result. It's not the same. Yeah, fights are the only thing that I can watch live.
So yeah, I gotta. If I'm watching sports, I gotta watch it all live. I've just had a problem watching the NBA. I just don't like the. I mean, forget about all the bullshit, but I don't like the 3-point game. I just hate it. Sorry, I hate a bunch of 6'7", 210-pound guys shooting threes.
But I'll tell you what, if you had been following, you'll see that the playoffs, it's been the defensive teams that are winning. It's not the teams that are proficient from the 3-point line. The defensive teams take that shit away. It's kind of old school. The playoffs are a different basketball than the regular season.
I know they are, but I watched the first round and I just couldn't get. I mean, I don't want to watch James Harden not play defense. I just can't get behind. Watch him just get blown past every single time.
There's a guy here from Canada, Dicko North.
What's up?
Did the Raptors win or did the Celtics? I know tonight was a Game 7 for the Celtics and Raptors. I'm not watching. Obviously, I've been spending 3 hours talking to this fuck.
God, why don't you go watch a replay, stupid?
Who won the game tonight, Richard?
Curtis Grant wrote the only sports he watched is Mighty Ducks.
Right. Well, he lives in Utah, so.
Have you ever talked about our friend from the Mighty Ducks?
I have never told that story, actually, because I was not there. So I don't want to tell a story that I wasn't there for.
Right. Brian was there, right?
Brian was there. I think Joe was there. Ox, yeah, but I was not.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was a story. I just thought he hung out.
No, apparently there was more to that story.
Okay. So
Game's still going. Someone said LeBron left Cleveland. Barkley's retired. That's all they know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I don't like LeBron either. I think he's a phony, and I think I just don't think he's not Michael Jordan.
That's what old school heads say.
But he's not Michael Jordan.
LeBron, yeah.
He's just not, right? Like, he had to team shop his ass around to win championships. I mean, the most impressive thing he did was, I think, the one year he went to Game 6 against the Lakers, maybe, but like nobody with like me and you on his team. But it's sport. It's weird. Sports are changing, and I don't know if people are going to go back after this pandemic. I don't know what's going to go on with public events. I know that about half of us.
I watched the game last night, and there were 16,000 people at the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Although it's an 80,000 person.
Right, but I mean, there's a reason they kept it at 20%. But just the behavior. So yeah, that's fine if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. But like, if you're, Blitz Kid, like, does half your audience just decide that they want to stay home because they want to be, extra cautious, right? You're, if you're getting into that stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I know what we're going through is, it's trying for everybody I've talked to. Everybody's like a little depressed, right? It just seems like people are a little depressed, and I don't know how this is going to play itself out as to, are people just going to be like, fuck it, let's go, right?
I think football's going to be fine. I think there will be other casualties on the other sports leagues. Football is going to be perfectly fine.
I don't know.
I think we'll see the proof of the pudding when the ratings come out, but I think football will be just fine.
Yeah, but the opener was down 12%. So, that's
12% of last year on a Thursday night. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, Packers and Bears did better. Good. Fact check me, bro.
Listen, I fact checked you on the basketball stuff, and you actually were like, you know what, you might be right.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's interesting, and it's interesting there. So, all right. Do you?
But in fairness, everything's down. If you look at everything on a whole, it's all down. Even wrestling is down. By a lot. So, and wrestling's not doing anything as far as what we're talking about here. But it's all down, dude. Everything's down. I think football will be the least. It will be the least affected area of our sport. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but if it's down, something has to be up. What's up?
What's up in wrestling? You tell me.
I don't know. I listen to people talk about it, but I never watch it. I mean,
what did they say?
I'm saying, where is business up? Right? Where is? In other words, if people are putting
it's up in alcohol. Cheers! I'm about to do a shot. All right.
Did someone pay you for that shot?
No, I just did it because I can't talk to you for 3 hours without drinking.
Why? Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be an interesting phenomenon. Like, we're living through a turn of history. So how does it end up? Who the fuck knows? But I feel like whoever's got, just like anything else, whoever's got the balls and the will, they're going to get it done. Those are the bands that you're going to hear from in 5 years, right?
I think the Browns will be in the toilet bowl, if you ask me.
Wow. I mean, I agree. Is that we're talking to?
You can't see me. I have to go on screen. All right.
Got it.
This is where I get super sarcastic the rest of the fucking show. You can't take anything I say seriously.
I'm very sensitive. I'm very sensitive.
You're a very sensitive person, I know.
Yeah. So do you miss being on the road? Because like yeah.
I don't know how to be home, actually. Not only do I miss it, I don't know how to be home.
Like, I mean, I know that I'm not quite that bad. I have been, but like I usually fly 100,000 miles a year. That's never going to happen again, ever. No one wants me to come into their office anymore. Like, not just now. Like going forward, maybe I'll do.
Right.
Right. So what kind of traveling entertainment is there going to be? Right. And how many people would pluck down $4 on the reg for a live stream on a Friday night? Right. You're home with your chick. It's date night. Right. As Conor McGregor would say, red penny night. Right. You throw on a Blitzkid live stream. Right. For a few bucks. Right. Do you do that? And like what? How is that going to work? Is that going to take away from live entertainment? And is that going to make it?
It's absolutely. It will until it's back, because you don't know what you're missing until your first experience back. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
When you're there the first time back and you hear the power of the bass and the kick drum hitting you in the chest, and just fucking things making your hair stand up, like you don't get that experience at home. But I'm telling you, I have had that experience just watching people live. Like, dude, I don't know what's going on with me, but all the hairs on my arms are sticking up right now because this is awesome.
Right.
You don't get that. You don't get that sitting home.
No, you don't. You don't. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes, man. So, what are you doing next? What's your deal? So you're doing this. Right, and how's this going so far?
It's going good, man. This is more of a learning experience than anything else. Like I'm just excited to. I'm a learner. I love being stimulated by everything. So, to me, I'm fully stimulated. I'm learning all this shit. I'm making sure that it's all working. But music is where it's at, man. Like at the end of the road, like I need to be a part of the music world when it comes back. Like this is. I can't imagine this being anything more than it is now. Like,
but in what capacity, right? So you've got, like as a musician, as a business guy, right? Because I could see you managing a band and working for work.
As long as I can tour, I want to tour. Like, I can't give that up yet. I'm not ready to give that up. As long as I'm willing and able to tour, I want to be that guy. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm recording covers. I'm doing originals. I'm going to do guitar playthroughs. I'm building a library. Dude, once the music world opens up and you know there's going to be defectors of people who can no longer do this for real.
Yep.
I want to be the guy that's able to jump right in and like, yo, I'll take a spot because I have 20 years of road experience. I know how to be on tour, and not only that, I'm pretty fucking good. Here's my library to prove it. Like, here's me singing, here's me playing bass and guitar. Fucking, I'm ready, dog. Let's go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my plan moving forward because I'm not ready to give up. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I have kind of sacrificed everything and dedicated my life to being a music man. Like, truly a music man. And, yeah, dude, the first thing that's open, I'll be right there.
So that's interesting. But, sometimes another door opens, right? And I'm not trying to talk you out of this, right? But I'm just trying.
A door does open, and which is why this is awesome at learning.
Yeah.
Now I have learned how to do like some minor broadcast functions. I know about lower thirds. I know about a lot of different things. And now I know how to make my own scenes. I know how to mix my own fucking broadcast. Like, I produce my own channel and am a character of my own channel, which most people don't do. Like, they usually have a guy producing it and a different guy is fucking being the character on screen. So I'm kind of learning everything on the fly. So no, there's value in that, but still, like, my heart's in playing music, dude.
Yeah,
100%.
So what are you and Joe gonna do? Are you guys got anything in the works?
Joe has written a vocal melody for a song that I wrote, and we'll continue to work on that. How we work that out, I don't know. I want to sing that song, but he wrote the words and the lyrics to it. but we'll figure it out. If we do Darrow again, that's I don't know, but we are working on a single aside from Darrow, so we'll figure it out.
What I'd like, I mean, yeah, I mean, because look, you know, I think at some point in your life you decided. I feel like I don't know, when you told me that somebody said Gotham Road was the worst band of all time.
Right.
And you know you weren't the worst band in America or the worst of all time. But it got in all of your fucking heads. All of it, it seems like. Right? And that's just some shitheel critic wrote something and called you the worst band in America. Who is that guy? Where's he today?
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah. Actually, that never bothered me. We're gonna keep going. Yeah, obviously he wasn't here to see us. I don't know. I never take that kind of criticism when it's so like out of left field. I never take that too personally.
Got it. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you and Joe have, and I mean, you know, yeah, you brought it up live with people watching. That's being recorded for multiple platforms.
Right.
So, you feel like playing a Mr. Monster set?
I mean, me and Joe were in Mr. Monster. If we decided to do a Mr. Monster set just by ourselves, that means we don't need any other motherfucker, because we kind of have the fucking in-house band already in our group. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean,
and that way we won't need an actual venue. We could do that anywhere.
Could do it anywhere. We could do. Let's talk about that offline.
Right.
So that'll be the hook, and maybe we'll end there because we got a bunch of other shit to talk about.
Yeah, it's been 3 hours, dog.
So I got no problem talking. Right. But cool, man. I really enjoyed myself tonight, and it was cool seeing a lot of people in the comments and all of that stuff. Looking forward to being back on with you soon, and because we got a lot of other fun shit to tell. And then at a certain point, I think we got to do a bunch of us on here. But even though we'll all talk all over each other,
yeah. No, I have the capability to get more of us on here.
Yeah,
I just haven't done it yet because, you know, it will be a shit show. So I don't want to I don't want everyone talking over each other. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Fucking So yeah, we'll end this here, guys. I appreciate you fucking hanging out with us. There's still people watch. I can't believe that people watch my show for over 3 hours. And every show that has gone over this amount of time, there's always been people here. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Sean, any last words?
Let's do it again soon.
We'll do it again soon, guys. Peace out, guys. You're the best. I'll talk to you on Monday with JV. Peace.
We are.